Stan Arthur here for the I Love St. Pete Facebook group. If you're a business owner looking to connect with tens of thousands of potential new local customers, you owe it to yourself to get enrolled in our Key Tag Rewards program. Since 2019, we've signed up more than 200 local merchants. Sponsor opportunities are available too, such as our group banner ad and even your own custom key tags. Just go to stpetekeytag.com, get enrolled, and get ready to get busy. stpetekeytag.com.
Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another edition of the Evolution of Sports Talk Television here on a Friday night on a new platform. I love stpete.com. I love St. Pete on Facebook. How do we start off the sports? Well, if you don't know who I am, let me go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Peter Blake, and I'm giving you something to think about and how we start off this show. And this is a sports talk show. It's the sports web. Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. On tonight's show, we'll have former Coach Scout and now media member of Night Sports Productions, Mr. Leo Haggerty, talking about your Tampa Bay Buccaneers, what they did in the draft, what's going on in the National Football League right now, what's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers, and then we'll also have on my Tampa Bay Lightning insider himself from Rocket Sports and Entertainment, Mr. Travis Faley, talking about his Chicago Bears, the NFL, and of course, the Tampa Bay Lightning. Again, stpetekeytag.com. Go to that website. Really proud to be a part of this platform, of course, on my page, also on YouTube and my Twitter. And of course, we'll take your phone calls if you want to talk about your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm okay with talking about the Tampa Bay Rays. We really don't do it on this show. It's early, but don't look now. The Tampa Bay Rays have won 5 in a row. They will continue their West Coast road trip tonight with the Oakland A's about 9:40. Of course, the Lightning are playing right now. Last check, it was 1-0 Dallas over the Lightning. And of course, the Lightning will finish out their season with the Florida Panthers. So a lot of stuff on the table. Once again, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. We got the legend himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty, coming on. And this is an interactive show. If you've never tuned in to the sports web before, I'm going to give you it all. You can make phone calls. You can text on the line, which I'll go ahead and read off of multiple platforms. Like I said, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter. I got sound effects. What's the evolution of sports talk television? It's a cross between a TV and a radio show. That's what it is. If you troll me, I'll do this to you. Also got some new sound effects. Let's see here. Let's go with this one.
Screw you! You're fired!
We'll go with that one. We'll go fire the cannons. We'll go with the crickets. I don't want to do that on a Friday night. And we'll also do the woo. Woo! I got a little boom. Boom shakalaka! There you go. We got applause. So, I mean, again, it's an interactive experience here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Get on the phone lines. Get on the text line. I'm going to go ahead and read some of these comments really quick. Taylor Allen says, happy Friday, Peter. Happy Friday to you, Miss Taylor Allen. And, of course, Mr. Christopher Cole. Hey, Peter, what's up, buddy? So, I tell you what, let's go out to Leo Haggerty. Let's talk about this Bucs draft. Let's talk about the National Football League and what's going on right now. Welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television on the I Love St. Pete platform on Facebook. How you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing fine, Peter. And it's good with you again. The hardest working man in Tampa Bay sports right here. That's you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, sir. And we do have a little bit of breaking news here on behalf of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and their players. NFL players across the league are a group of professionals who care about our jobs, our community, and our families. We've made a commitment to the organization, to the Bucs fans, and to each other that we would come back and try to bring another world championship to Tampa Bay. We know that our union worked to negotiate safety protocols, but in light of the ongoing pandemic, we are choosing to take a stand with our players across the league and exercise our right to not participate in the voluntary off-season program. We have fully virtual off-season last year, and we held each other accountable to do the work it took to win, and we plan to do that again. What are your thoughts on this statement? And by the NFL Players Association, it seems like they're digging in here where they're not going to have all-season workouts. They're just going to do everything virtually. What's the impact of this?
Peter, my thoughts are it's about time. These are voluntary. Again, I use the word voluntary, but they've never been voluntary. I mean, the media has been the worst when it comes to people who decided, hey, I'm not showing up. It's voluntary. I got other things to do. And the media would all of a sudden say these guys, oh, they're bad teammates. I think the union finally is telling the NFL, okay, look, here's what needs to happen. It's going to have to be mandatory or we're not showing up. And that's, I think, is the NFL right now for players is a 13-month-a-year sport. There's no downtime. The best thing that happened last year was that the OTAs were virtual. Chance to do everything at home. They had a chance to think they need time away from this. This is not something that needs to keep going on year after year after year when voluntary workouts are basically mandatory workouts. I applaud the NFLPA. I applaud the players for finally putting their foot down and saying, we're not coming unless we're mandated to do it.
Does it go back to what Bruce Arians said a couple months ago that the veterans kind of love this because it takes away from the eventual development of younger players? We heard from BA last year with the Bucs and younger players missing those 400 reps. So in the grand scheme of things, do veteran players want them to miss that time so basically they can keep their job and younger players don't necessarily develop as fast as maybe an Antoine Winfield or Tristan Wirfs of the Bucs?
Peter just took the words right out of my mouth. It didn't hurt those at all. And Tristan Wirfs is an anomaly. No one, if this guy was the NFL offensive player there, no one gave him credit for it. One played every offensive, gave up one back on his own as a rookie. Come on. Yeah, OTAs could have helped, but how much more? These guys now are coming in, and they are pretty well ready to roll. Look at the Bucs draft. You got Antoine Winfield. You got Tristan Wirfs. You got Johnson, all contributors, big time in that playoff run. So, again, yes, it's going to help the younger players, no doubt about it. But is it going to be something that is completely debilitating? SAT word of the night, Peter.
Very nice. I like
for
that.
The younger player, no. It's just going to be something that gets them some places a little faster, not necessarily a complete given.
Yeah, makes sense. We're on the legend himself, former coach, scout, and now media member of Night Sports Productions, It's Sports Mag, Mr. Leo Haggerty here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television on I Love St. Pete, here on this new platform, of course, on YouTube page and, of course, Twitter. Now, there's other layers to this story, and which was kind of surprising for me. Tom Brady actually joined the NFL Players Association call today, delivered an impassionate speech imploring fellow players to stand united and have very intense negotiations with coaches, modifying offseason work rules as the union continues to push for a boycott. Also part of Brady's speech and message to all the players today, the NFL is the only pro sport with overly competitive drills during the offseason, and the all-virtual 2020 offseason showed that there's a better way. There's no effing pro baseball player that's throwing 95 miles per hour in mid-December. Is Brady onto something? Are you there, Leo?
No, he's 43 years old, and he knows there's only so many times he can go to the well. And 43, I'd say, hey, I don't need 21 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
What more can he do?
Yeah.
Again, he's right. Arians is right. It's going to help the players that are just getting into the league, that first, second, and third year. But is it going to be a make or break? No, if the entire league follows these rules. Again, if they don't, now you got a competitive advantage. And I think that's what Arians is afraid of, and that's what other coaches are afraid of. Now, if we see Tom Brady down at Berkeley in his own workouts, you got to wonder what he's saying. So, yes, I agree with what he says. He's right. There's no one in the offseason just playing at 100%. And the NFL needs to realize you're for 17 regular season games. You got to come back and say, okay, we're going to give back something. And the players are saying, here's what you're going to give back, OTAs.
All right, good stuff there. So are you surprised? You're not surprised by him standing up for the NFL Players Association, right? No surprise there?
I'm kind of surprised it took him that long to come out and say that. It should have been something that he may have pondered and thought about, and maybe we talked to his agent and said, hey, is this something good? But yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing. Again, Peter, I played the game. I understand that it was the time years ago. It wasn't leather helmets. We had fans. We had equipment. And I tell you what the analogy I always use, in school, there's a winner or a loser. In college, there's a survivor. In the NFL, everybody's beat up on a Sunday. Win, lose, or draw. You are beat up. And there's only so many times you can and expect to come back and be at 100% and be that next year guy that can do it. So I understand that this is going to lengthen people's careers because it's not going to take off the tire in the off season.
Exactly. And we're on with Leo Haggerty, the legend himself, former coach, scout, and now media member of Nine Sports Productions. It's Sports Mag. Tell you what, I want to read some of these comments here. I don't know why it's not showing up. Bucks need to sign Jeff Heath. Pure Speed. Tammy Freed says, go get him, Pete. That's Aunt Tammy. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Reach out to Edelman. He can help us win one more Super Bowl. I mean, to me, Edelman has been talked about, been jokingly talked about by Brady. There's no way he's coming back. I mean, he couldn't pass the physical with the Patriots. He's basically done, and the Bucks really don't need an Edelman, right? In your opinion?
They don't need a wide receiver. I mean, who's he going to play out of? I mean, look at that room. There isn't any room for anybody else now. I mean, they've got – I think that may be, when healthy, their strongest room. Again, the funny thing with the Bucks is when you look at the positions, wide receiver, tight end, running back, they're in good shape. And I don't need an Edelman to what does he do? What does he give them that they don't have? I don't see it.
Yeah, I mean, you got Antonio Brown there. You've got Tyler Johnson. You've got Scotty Miller. You also drafted a kid in Jalen Darden, who it seems like this is one of Brady's favorite players. Let's go and talk about that Tampa Bay Buccaneers draft. First and foremost, Joe Tryon. Do you like the pick at 32? I mean, there's value there. He opted out last year, but had 8.5 sacks the year before. Kind of in the same mold of JPP, right? I mean, 6'5", 6'6", 252 can get after a quarterback, and he doesn't necessarily have to come in right away and start because you have a JPP and because you re-signed a Shaq Barrett, right?
You know, Peter, this is the first time that I've been covering the NFL, and that's close to 4 decades, that I've ever seen a team not have to draft a need in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
The Bucks, looking top to bottom, have a roster that is complete right now. If it's healthy, you're going to pay Howard to it because he's healthy. And I saw Joe Tryon last year, 2 years ago, when the Bucks went out to play the Seahawks. I had a chance to watch him play a home game when Utah came in the Husky Stadium and play Washington. Peter, he's a man. He is a physical specimen. And I asked him on draft night, I said, you're going to go up against the GOAT every day at practice. And boy, he got the biggest smile on his face. And answer was, I love to be around greatness. It brings the best out of me. Guy's a competitor. You got a 6'5" guy who can rush the quarterback. There's two. You can't coach size. You can't coach speed. And what Tryon does is he takes that speed and turns it into power. So when he puts his hand in the dirt and he's coming on the rush, he's a threat. He can also get back into coverage, and at 6'5", he's tough to throw over. I like the pick because they can marinate him. Hey, here's another SAT word.
Oh, look at that.
He can sit, he can learn. Yeah, I'm rolling tonight, Peter, because I got an SAT proctor tomorrow morning at 7:15. So I got to be ready for that. But yeah, I like the pick, Tryon. I'll tell you what, Peter. Let's get to Trask, because I know that's on the agenda.
Yes, I mean,
The
Kyle Trask.
Two quarterbacks coming out.
Right.
Two quarterbacks coming out where you don't know whether the receivers made the receivers are Mac Jones and Kyle Trask. And everybody questioned, well, they don't go through their progressions. Well, each of them had high number 1 picks they were throwing to. If I was throwing to Kyle Pitts, I wouldn't have to go past number 1 almost all game. So again, he has 2 guys that he doesn't have many places. And again, Kyle Trask dropped 48 on Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Not too many people do aren't named Trevor Lawrence. So yeah, that's I want to see what Trask can do. So that should be interesting.
Yeah, it should be interesting. And a lot of people say, you know what? They just signed Blaine Gabbert the other day. To me, it's curtains for a Ryan Griffin, even though you re-signed him, because basically you're not going to put Trask on the practice squad. You're not going to be able to pass him through waivers. And then on top of it, he's a 2nd-round pick. So, theoretically, he's going to be on this team, whether he's 2nd or 3rd string. More than likely, Blaine Gabbert is the backup. People go, well, why not start Trask? You don't want to see Trask because he's a rookie. And first, we all know about young quarterbacks going into the system. So you have a Blaine Gabbert in place. You have a Kyle Trask who you can develop here in the next couple years. And basically, he's your future. Were you surprised that he was there in the 2nd round? Because much was made he was going to be a 1st-round pick. And then it seemed like, kind of scouts soured on him. And it really wasn't fair because one of his last game, the bowl game, he was missing all his starters. So to me, the kid's got lots of potential. He played under Dan Mullen, who's been, pretty good developer of quarterbacks. Dak Prescott called. He wanted to know what you were talking about. So Trask, to you, good pick, good value in the 2nd round?
Absolutely. Because if he doesn't pan out, no harm, no foul. because the Bucks, again, were not in a position where they needed to pick up somebody who can start. And Peter, remember, I have preached to you and to your listeners the basic litany that I learned as a scout back in the 1970s.
Mm-hmm.
The first round pick has to play and start, with the exception of a quarterback. You can let him sit. Play somewhere. He has to either be your nickel corner, has to be your posse wide out, has to be your rush end off the edge. The Bucks went from that.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because they could. They got 22 starters coming back from the Super Bowl team, which still amazes me how they were able to do that. Because usually one or two of them defect because they can make more money.
Right.
I'll tell you what, I don't know what number 12 did or what he said, but that Kool-Aid must have been sweet for these guys to drink it.
I'm telling you right now, I mean, this has been the story of the offseason. This has not been done in the salary cap era. It hasn't been done since the 70s. I was like 1 year old when it was done with the Pittsburgh Steelers in 79. There's also, Super Bowl starters. I believe it was the Oakland Raiders in 77. So it's an amazing turn of events because all you heard throughout the offseason was how they were going to lose Shaq Barrett. They were going to lose Sue. They were going to lose this player and that player. And they've been able to basically not only get all their players back in the fold, but you add a Giovanni Bernard. Talk about that move. I get it. I don't think he's the starting running back. The victim of volume and a Ronald Jones, to me, is still the best running back on this team. But the reason why you get a Bernard is because he's that pass-catching threat, much like James White was with the New England Patriots in those years with Brady, right?
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? You're going to have to spell Ronald Jones. I don't want to see a running back in the game that's getting 20 to 30 carries because they're going to burn out over a 17-game season. And, Peter, I don't think people have realized what that 17-game season is going to mean. You're going to have one more game that actually matters. Preseason didn't matter. And you brought up a point earlier about the 4 quarterbacks they have signed. I think you're going to see Tom Brady minimal reps just to save his arm because you don't know. One thing, Peter, I can tell you. When a quarterback goes south, they go south in a hurry. Now, Tom Brady hasn't done that. And more power to him, but you worry about a guy, and it's kind of comical. Tristan Wirtz comes into the huddle the first practice and looks over at the quarterback and goes, "That guy's older than my dad."
Yeah.
I mean, that's gotta scratch your head and go, man, what is this guy doing still playing in the NFL? And whatever he's doing, because 20 plus amazing at any particular quarterback.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. And look, they got a good problem at this point. You got a full wide receiving room. You got a full tight end room. Going back to the draft, how surprised were you that, the San Francisco 49ers picked Trey Lance? I mean, here's a kid who only played 1 game this year. Of course, 17 touchdowns, no interceptions the year before. Mac Jones was talked about. It was going to be Mac Jones. Mac Jones, does Lance fit Kyle Shanahan's system for the 49ers? Were you surprised by that pick?
Lance fits better than Mac Jones.
Okay.
What you're seeing with Trey Lance is a very athletic quarterback. And again, Troy Oda and Steve Varkartapone, who push quarterbacks for Night Sports Production and It Sports Magazine. Troy Odegaard said the big thing you see when you watch Trey Lance is when he sticks that right foot in the ground, it's coming out in a hurry. Okay. He makes decisions quickly and he right ones. Now, again, what you're going to have in the NFL is you're going to have 11 guys on the other side of the ball that can run. They're going to be a lot more athletic than what you – but as the 49ers moved up there. I thought maybe they knew something that Lawrence was going to fall or Wilson was going to fall. But to move up for that, boy, I'll tell you what, John Lynch is putting his legacy on the line because now you got Garoppolo, you got Trey Lance. The worst thing that happened right now for the 49ers is to start Garoppolo and go 4-1 out of the gate. You're going to have to sit Trey Lance, which isn't a bad thing, Peter.
Right.
But you didn't move up number 3 to take a quarterback not to play. So that's what's going to be an interesting scenario there.
Yeah, I agree. And I thought Garoppolo would be traded on draft night either to the New England Patriots. You know, there was talk about Aaron Rodgers. But before we get to that mess, Justin Fields to the Chicago Bears. To me, this was the move of the night. You finally got a quarterback there. Howdy doody. Andy Dalton is not going to get it done, Leo, for the Chicago Bears. Justin Fields, to me, I don't understand why he dropped so far. But to me, this was the pick of the night for the Chicago Bears. What were your thoughts on that?
Boy, I'll tell you what, Peter, it better be, because right now the Bears are an enigma. They moved up and passed on Mahomes and Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
To take Mitch Trubisky, which, again, I sat there and scratched my head and said, all the guy's done for 1 year is play, and he didn't win.
Right.
You got to take guys that win. That's the thing, especially a quarterback. And you know what, Peter? I really thought Garoppolo was going to go to the Patriots. All of a sudden, there is Mac Jones sitting around. And again, another situation with Cam Newton. You can sit the guy, let him learn, let him marinate, let him figure out the NFL. Perfect situation. But, boy, I'll tell you, for the Bears to move up to take Justin Fields, it's a stretch, Peter. Now, everybody says, well, value. If the kid starts for you, you got value because you got the guy in the first round that you wanted. Everybody's talking about at 25, the Jaguars take Trevor Lawrence, then they take Travis Etienne, and they say, why a running back? Well, that guy's an every down running back. He can not only run, he can catch. He's a returner. And here's Peter, he can willing to block. And that's the key, because now you got a guy, if you can get 6-7 years out of a running back, that's great. Anything after that is gravy. But yeah. I like the pick. I like what Jacksonville did in the first round, because they got 2 guys now that are going to come in that they can basically say, hey, what are we doing here? Let's do the same thing we did at Clemson. Win. Be nice.
Before the draft process, and we're on with the legend himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty, even through his Wi-Fi there, we're still getting through this interview. It was, much was made before the draft process that Tim Tebow was talking to the Jaguars and, of course, Urban Meyer. Can you buy him as a tight end for the Jaguars? Do you see that happening? Is it too late for him, or can Tebow still contribute to this football team?
The only Jaguars take Tim Tebow as they're looking to sell tickets. And nothing against Tim Tebow. The poor guy got the raw deal because, Peter, here's a guy with a winning record as a starting quarterback in the NFL and couldn't find a job. Basically because no offensive coordinator was going to be considered a genius with Tim Tebow. All Tim Tebow did was go there and find a way to win. And that was just not going to get an offensive coordinator a head coaching job, which is kind of this, come on. Job in. And that's the thing. I still, everybody talks about Mike Shanahan being this offensive genius. Well, guess what? He cost Atlanta a Super Bowl, and he cost San Francisco a Super Bowl because he didn't trust his quarterback and take a timeout at the first half and try to score. So, again, I look at things maybe of a different light. But when you look at what's going on in the NFL, you got to have a guy who can put it up somewhere between 20 and 30 times, sometimes 40 and 50 if you're behind. But you got to have that guy that you're confident in. That's the key.
I agree with you on that. I didn't understand the Cincinnati Bengals. I get it. You're picking at 5. You're picking the best wide receiver in the draft.
Don't get me started on the Bengals.
Your quarterback went down with an injury, and you have an opportunity to get one of the top offensive linemen in a Sewell from Oregon or Slater from Northwestern, and you pass on his favorite wide receiver. The Bengals don't make any sense to me at all. They're completely lost in the sauce with this pick. I love Chase, but not there. I like an offensive lineman to protect my quarterback. Your thoughts?
Peter, the only reason that the Bengals may have decided to do this is they may have gone to Joe Burrow and said, look, options, Penei Sewell or Lamar Chase, where do you want us to go? Because we're okay either way. I got a feeling Joe Burrow, get my buddy in here. I'm comfortable with him. I'll tell you what, I was the most shocked person in the world that they passed on Penei Sewell. And the biggest guy in the world has to be Jared Goff up in Detroit because now he has a generational offensive tackle. Peter, the guy won the Outland Trophy as a sophomore.
Exactly.
He's not even going to be legal to drink when training camp starts. Tell me where this is going.
This is going where the guy's going to get even better. I mean, hello, Tristan Wirfs last year at 13. People were complaining, and we're on with the legend himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty, former Coach Scout and now media member of Night Sports Productions. It's Sports Mag here on the Sports Web on the I Love St. Pete platform, the 76,000 following. Definitely get on here and join the evolution of sports talk television. Want to go through this draft again, and then we'll talk about.
Peter, can we talk a little? Yeah, can we go a little bit back to the draft 2 years ago with Tristan Wirfs? How in God's name did people look and think he was the false tackle in that draft? I mean, if I was Chase Light, I would have been salivating, and I also would have been sweating bullets that someone's going to take this guy. Peter, when he jumped out of the pool, and everybody saw that, you're talking about a 300-plus man jumping out of a 3-foot pool. What that did for me as a scout is it checked two things: athleticism, power. I don't know why I didn't become the top draft pick because, Peter, I've never seen that happen before. And the one thing you want to find out is if you got an athletic. Then I talked to Kurt Ferentz and found out he was the Iowa high school heavyweight wrestling champ at 285 pounds. Comes into Iowa, still has room to grow. And the kid, it's hard to sit here and say there's a 300-plus pound guy that's really athletic. If you watch him play, he uses his hands and body and his leverage better than a 10-year veteran. This guy is just a freak. And to think that the Bucks moved up one to get him, thank God. Yeah. They're not where they are without Tristan Wirfs.
I agree.
He gives up a sack against New Orleans and 19 games. He doesn't give a back. Name me any tackle that's done that. Forget about a rookie tackle, any tackle.
I have no idea. Even a Tony Baselli, even going all the way back to an Orlando Pace and Anthony Munoz, those guys, I don't remember. They had their growing pains. Here's a kid that comes in. Look, he doesn't have to go with the left side because Donovan Smith, but still, it's a side out there with that right side. You've got to protect Tom Brady. We talked about it. It was an integral part of that offseason. If you could protect Tom Brady, you knew that Tom Brady could definitely throw it all around the park, and he definitely did that. Speaking of, kind of throwing it all around the park here, Najee Harris, 24 to the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is a perfect pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers simply because you get back to having that bell cow runner. They got away from it last year. They tried to become, pass heavy. I love this pick, and I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are definitely going to be competitive in that division and could be scary good if they get back to Steeler football, right?
But tell me Najee Harris isn't going to look good in black and gold. Here's a guy who epitomizes Steeler football. Hard-hitting, tough run, get that tough yard, make that defender tackle you. I mean, this is just a great pick, Steelers, and it's probably going to get Brent Roethlisberger another year or two in a contract because all he has to do now is hand the ball off, which is great because that's something that the Steelers got away from. They thought they were the Kansas City Chiefs. Let's throw it all over the lot. They thought they were the old St. Louis Rams, the greatest show on turf. Steeler football is running the football. Pass is a secondary option.
It has always been like that. It's been that way with Rocky Bleier and Franco Harris, and it's been like that with Jerome Bennett. I mean, there's so many running backs that you can go back to that are,
James Conner,
Le'Veon Bell. I mean, this team has not been the same after they got rid of a Le'Veon Bell. And say whatever you want to about Bell, he hasn't done much of anything, but this offense has absolutely changed. You have to take the pressure off of a Ben Roethlisberger. He's getting up there in age. The best way to do that is to run the ball. With that being said, what the hell are the Las Vegas Raiders doing with Alex Leatherwood at 17? I mean, here's a player. Look, I get it. He's an offensive tackle. They're trying to remake their offensive line. But this player was a second or third round selection. What are the Raiders doing? Is this John Gruden once again over-analyzing, over-drafting for talent in a draft?
You know what, Peter? They got Mike Mayock out there too. And again, I am going to give the Raiders the benefit of the doubt because if you can plug his start right away, then he round talent. Most people thought he was a 2 guy. But when you look at offensive lines last year, Notre Dame, Alabama, I mean, I'm not a big SEC guy because I'm just not seeing that kind of competition anymore. I'm not seeing the old days where you got Alabama, Auburn, Georgia, LSU, Florida. You look at that and, okay, you got Missouri, you got Vanderbilt, Tennessee's been terrible. Kentucky is Kentucky. It's not like you're going down meat grinder anymore. Yeah. So I'm thinking that the Raiders see this guy as somebody who not as a project, but someone who's got a little higher ceiling than a lot of people give him credit for.
Okay, we'll see what happens, but I think that Gruden, and this has been talked about, he's kind of trying to force out Mayock here. Of course, he's making the final decisions, and that's why ultimately I think he's going to go after an Aaron Rodgers. But let's talk about this Rodgers thing because this is a complete mess. This was a mess last year when they drafted a Jordan Love, and Aaron Rodgers came out and basically said in so many words, I drank myself drunk because I didn't think the Packers were going to draft a Jordan Love. Of course, looking at it, Rodgers knew what was going to happen with this organization because of the Favre experience. They drafted him in 2005. Of course, he had to sit behind Favre, and then he was the starter. But it comes out here yesterday about basically Adam Schefter on the Dan Patrick Show. He says that is absolutely accurate, correct. When asked if it was chose to break the story on draft day, it was nothing that morning that came in that all of a sudden said to me, yeah, he wants out. He should report this. It was just an accumulation of information. Also, Schefter said he heard a report from Paul Allen of KFAN talking about the 49ers being involved. But in so many words, Schefter admits that he kind of knew about this, but he had no league sources. He had no team sources. But what's going on with Schefter? I mean, he's trying to make news. I get it. It's the draft, but it's kind of slimy because you're taking the emphasis off those young players for that NFL draft experience. What do you say?
Peter, let's go to when Green Bay drafted.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that Aaron Rodgers was upset had nothing to do with Jordan Love. It had everything to do that the Packers thought they needed to take anybody but a wide receiver in this round. The fact that they didn't get him a weapon probably cost them a Super Bowl. I think Aaron Rodgers is just saying, okay, guys. And then this year, they go with the corner with the first round. It's like, okay, you cut the guy. Now you're throwing salt in the wound. And I'll tell you what, the NFL, Peter, is scared to death what may happen. Because if Aaron Rodgers forces a trade, watch what happens with Russell Wilson. Watch what happens with other players down the road that they're just going to say, okay, and you don't want this to be the end. You don't want this to where players are making decisions on coaches playing. And I tell you what, if I was Green Bay, I'd get a plane out. I would get Aaron Rodgers in here and say, okay, what do we have to do to make you happy? Let's be honest. If Green Bay does not put number 12 under center, they are about as mediocre as you can find. They are going to end up probably 7-10 at best if they don't have Aaron Rodgers under center. And the fact that they don't see that is mind-boggling. That this is the guy that got you where you were last year. And again, he's getting a lot of heat for the third down play against the Bucs. People, well, why didn't you run it? You could have run it in the end zone. He wasn't getting to the end zone. There were 3 Buccaneers standing on the goal line. He was going to maybe get to the 2 or the 1, which may have changed Matt LaFleur's idea. I'll tell you what, Peter, I'm going to go back to that. And as a coach, I think this was a massive coaching fault. They should have told Aaron Rodgers, okay, we're going to kick a field goal on 4th down before they even started. We're going to go no matter what. Aaron Rodgers, because he threw that pass on 3rd down, thought there's no way we're kicking a field goal. That we're going for. And the fact that the Packers coaching staff did not communicate that to their quarterback, I led to their downfall and their loss in the NFC Championship game.
I agree. I absolutely agree. And I don't understand the decision when it's made. I get it. The defense is dominating. You're exactly right. When Rodgers on the run in the 3rd down play, if he did, decide to run, Devin White's right there, the tattoo him, and most likely he could get injured because White is definitely headhunting. So in the grand scheme of things, could Aaron Rodgers basically sit out, threaten the Packers with leverage of doing Jeopardy full time? I get it. Some people say, he can retire, but he's walking away from a lot of money. Or do you feel like the Packers will eventually trade him to the Broncos, which has been talked about? The 49ers, I don't think is going to happen now. I think it is the Las Vegas Raiders, and I'll tell you why. It's in the West Coast. You have John Gruden there. He loves veteran quarterbacks. We know Gruden's story in 2005 when he flew out Jerry Rice for a personal workout. He told Rodgers he wanted to draft him. He's never liked a quarterback. He always liked veterans. You have somewhat of some talent, and Rodgers gets to play in that division with Mahomes twice a year, and of course a Justin Herbert, which may be tough, but you would have to admit that Rodgers is definitely an upgrade over a Derek Carr for the Raiders, right?
Yeah, but I don't see Gruden mixing. Okay. You got a quarterback who's pretty much has a mindset on what he thinks needs to be done and what needs to happen. Peter, I'd be truly surprised if number 12 doesn't show up in green and gold again, that the Packers find a way to make him happy. Because unless you can trade him for another veteran quarterback, why would the Packers do that and have to sit there and throw Jordan Love to the wolves and then now become a non-contender for at least 1 and maybe 2 years? I I just don't see that happening because they have the defense that's going to shut people down. It's just not going to happen. So it's the Packers are between a rock and the NFL may be telling them, look, hey, do this, do that. But Peter, you got to understand the Green Bay Packer fan and live and die with the Green Bay Packers in Wisconsin. It is just something that you can't get rid of Aaron Rodgers and not have a huge community backlash against the team simply because they sit there and go, no way. What are you doing? It just doesn't make sense.
Well, I tell you what makes sense here. Mr. Leo Haggerty, the legend himself, former coach, scout, and now media member of Night Sports Productions. It's Sports Mag. Happy birthday, buddy. Go ahead and promote yourself here on the Sports Web.
Yeah, you can check us out at www.itsportsmag.com. We just did a It's Sports Mag TV segment with one of Tampa Bay's icons in sports reporting, Roy Cummings. And we're going to get you in there soon so we can get the hardest working sportsman in the Tampa Bay area. And I look forward to that happening. So you have a great evening, and we will talk to you probably sometime next week.
Sounds good. There you go. The legend himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty, the grandfather I never had here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television, the Sports Web. Thanks a lot for your time, boss.
Take care, pal.
All right, there you go. So Leo Haggerty gone there. We'll have Travis Faley. Let's go ahead and read these comments, guys. I haven't neglected you, but great stuff from the great Leo Haggerty about your Tampa Bay Buccaneers, about the draft, about what's going on with the NFL Players Association. Do you agree? Should players sit out this year because of the virtual insanity? Old song from mid-90s, late 90s, I guess. Virtual insanity. I mean, players buying into the virtual. Players saying, you know what, we don't necessarily have to put our bodies through the rigors like previous years because we did it last year. We didn't have a lot of injuries and the play didn't really digress, right? 727-255-0391 at 727-255-0391. Let me read these comments. Natasha says, hi, Peter. Hello. I believe this is Russ here, and I'm going to going on. All right. Bring your passion, fans. Peter is the man. Come on, let's go. Appreciate you. I think that's Russ. Bring Sean Lee out of retirement. Local guy from Seminole High School in St. Pete. Could add depth. I'm not sure if they're going to go in that direction. And there's a reason why Lee retired in the first place. Because of concussions, because of a player who, look, supremely talented, but's never been able to stay healthy consistently on the field. Charles Richardson, the younger players need a chance to bond and help them get on the same page. Agree with you. Hey, Peter, miss you. I believe that's Tabitha. Thanks a lot. Natasha with the lips. Thank you very much. Brady wasn't going to be outspoken in New England. Now in Tampa Bay, he's got more room to speak. He does. And we talked about it, Charles. I know you're a big-time Patriots fan, and I know how you feel about Tom Brady, but it's like Brady has the freedom here in the locker room. Look, he's the best player in the league right now. I mean, maybe not the best player, but he's the guy that has the most standing. He's the guy that has the legacy, right? So for him to stand up for the NFL Players Association is kind of neat. I guess that's the word I'm looking for. I'm kind of surprised by it. I am. Because here's a player that is in his 22nd year. He has nothing to prove, and he's still out there putting his neck on the line. Maybe for himself, but also for the younger players and for the players who necessarily don't want to go through the offseason workouts. And they have a point, right? Are you concerned about it? I'm a little bit concerned, but then again, we sat on this show last year and talked about the effect. What was the effect? On this Bucs team, not much. Did you see a lot of critical injuries? Not really. Did you see the level of play drop? Not really. So don't the players have some type of point? Somewhat. I get it. I'm kind of old school too. Listening to the best sports talk show in the Tampa Bay area, the Sports Web. I love St. Pete. You got all this. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Bucks are complete, but Rams are no joke either, of course, with Stafford. And that defense in place with an Aaron Donald. They finally got a quarterback. They got rid of a Jared Goff. Can Stafford stay healthy? That's the big time question for me with the Rams. Because if he can, you can absolutely put them in the conversation of a Super Bowl contender. You can. Because he's that talented. And you have the weapons. You have a Cooper Kupp. You have a Robert Woods. You have a Cam Akers. And you have that defense. And what do we know, ladies and gentlemen? Offense sells tickets, but defense wins championships. So they're definitely in that conversation. Good show. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Mr. Troll himself, Roger Shoe. All right. There we go. Jets will be much improved. New quarterback, no joke. We'll see. We'll see, because you're putting a lot on that kid in Zach Wilson, right? 33 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. They're rebuilding the offensive line. It's going to take some time. And then on top of it, you're in one of the toughest divisions in football, in that AFC East. Right? I mean, the Patriots, they spent over $100 million in free agency trying to get Cam Newton or Mac Jones weapons. You've got all these defensive players coming back to the fold after opting out. You know Belichick wants to win. You know, the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs and that defense. You have the Miami Dolphins. I mean, a highly competitive division in the AFC East. It's going to be tough for the Jets to do anything, but they're probably going to do a lot more than they did with an Adam Gase. Can we all agree with that? I think we can. Roger Shoe says, ask him about Justin Fields. I did that. Bucks carry 4 quarterbacks. No, we talked about that. I think Ryan Griffin is the odd man out. I do. They sign a Blaine Gabbert. People say, oh, well, I don't like Gabbert. Well, came in last year, knows the system. BA's comfortable with him. Sometimes that's all it takes. Do you want to go with a Kyle Trask in an NFL game? Not me. I mean, I don't even want to talk about it. Because if we're talking about backup quarterbacks, that means Tom Brady got hurt. That's not what you want. But I'd rather have a Blaine Gabbert than a Kyle Trask or a Ryan Griffin who's thrown a total of 2 passes. I'd rather have him in there instead of those quarterbacks. Trask is a potential successor to Brady. Agree. Trask is a stud. He will be okay. We'll see. Bucks go 15-1. They lose to the MAC in New England. We'll see. 16-1, says Charles Richardson. Bucks Wild says 3Y, 3 S's on 3. I guess you're saying 3 championships. I like it. Can anyone think of any team that has as much talent on offense like the Bucks have in the modern era? I can't. I can't either. Maybe the St. Louis Rams, the greatest show on turf with the Kurt Warner, who, look, came out of nowhere. Trent Green gets hurt in the preseason. You got Isaiah Akeem, Isaac Bruce, Torrey Smith, Marshall Faulk. I mean, that's pretty talented. But you look at the Bucks right now, right? I mean, let's look at them. Can we keep on looking at them? Gronkowski, Howard, Godwin, Evans, Brown, Tyler Johnson, Scotty Miller, the running backs, Leonard Fournette, the victim of volume and a Ronald Jones. The offensive line shored up one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, if not the greatest quarterback of all time, and a defense that'll knock your teeth out. You got to love it. You got to love it. Talented on both sides of the ball. Beautiful offseason by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 727-255-0391 and 727-255-0391. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Nope. Pat Searcy says, welcome back, buddy. It's good to be back. Roger Shoe says, thank you. Charles says, Chicago is where quarterbacks go to die. I mean, that's the big time question. And I'm going to talk to Travis Haley of Rocket Sports and Entertainment about his Chicago Bears because I'm interested in what he thinks. Because Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy, they had to make this move. Andy Dalton is not a starting quarterback in the NFL. He's not. I'm sorry. If he's your starting quarterback, next question. He's not a starting quarterback in this league. He wasn't for the Dallas Cowboys, and he's not for the Chicago Bears. But I tell you right now, Justin Fields, getting him in there as a young kid, can do so many things, make all kinds of throws. And I don't understand why NFL scouts believe that this guy is not worthy of a top 10 pick. I don't know why he dropped. Justin Fields has more of a body of work than Trey Lance. Period. There's no disputing it. The way the guy played at Ohio State through an injury, most certainly outplaying a Trevor Lawrence in that game with broken ribs and throwing 5 touchdowns. I don't understand it. I think scouts overanalyze. What is it? Paralysis by analysis? I mean, that's what I think it comes down to. So we'll get out to Travis Feely here in a moment. Big Mac, 6-time champs in New England. Good place. I'm the minority here, but I have a feeling Justin Fields isn't going to make it in Chicago. I hope for Bears fans he does. Chiefs, Charles Richardson, I agree with you. Chicago is the worst spot for a quarterback to land. TT, 2 tight ends, Ben Cornett, Charles Richardson, Justin Fields can make it in the NFL, but just not in Chicago. Quarterback graveyard there. Although they said the same thing about the Cleveland Browns, right? What did they do? Get him a Kareem Hunt. Get him the running back from Georgia, who for some reason I can't think of right now. I guess it's a Friday night. But the point is, Nick Chubb, you get running backs that take the pressure off your quarterback. You don't want a quarterback throwing 30, 40 times a game. You want to split the carries up with your running game. That's what you want to do. Jacksonville doesn't need a publicity stunt to sell tickets. They got their golden boy. Charles, again, yes, quarterback graveyard 100%. The Bengals are building an air arsenal. Last year drafted T. Higgins and now Chase. Watch out for the Bengals. But that's the point. I mean, you drafted T. Higgins. Why not draft an offensive lineman? I get it. You get a guy like Chase who knows a Joe Burrow. That's where you want to go. But it's about protecting your quarterback. And it starts in the trenches. That's the difference between good teams and bad teams. And consequently, the Bengals have been very bad. And the reason why is because they neglect the trenches, which is why Joe Burrow possibly could get hurt again. Hate to say it. Young quarterback showed a lot. Showed flashes of brilliance, but if you want that kid to succeed, you got to put something around him, and wide receivers on the outside are not the way to go, in my opinion. Goff could have a brick wall protecting him. He's going to suck in Detroit. T. Higgins and Chase enhance Bengals offense. Ben Cornett, I like Sewell, but he got drafted by Detroit. He's going to have that Joe Thomas type of career, multiple Pro Bowls with no postseason success unless he leaves when his rookie deal is up. I don't know what is going on tonight with the Facebook user. That's if the Lions can develop Sewell. Ben Cornett, imagine worse with a training camp now. Charles Richardson, Steelers need the run blocking. Hope they got that. Otherwise, Harris is going to have it rough. I agree, but I still think you had to go Harris with that pick. I don't understand the whole, well, we had to go offensive lineman. There may not have been a best offensive lineman on the board. That's why you go with the Harris. To me, Harris reminds me of a Derrick Henry. Sue Tia says, hello. I don't know what that is. Grades back at ESPN in 3 years. Exactly. Gruden, absolutely. Always talking about Gruden. Raiders should trade for Rodgers. I think that's a possibility. We talked about that car in a first rounder to the Packers for Rodgers. Ben Cornett. And I tell you what, let me go ahead and hold up on this call. You have to call back. That's Sean, the Sports Don. Call back. Charles Richardson, I say 5 years only because it's a 10-year, $100 million deal. They won't pay $40 million for someone who's not there after 6 years on the job. I can't see them doing it after the 8th year where it cost him less. Robert Horton says, what's up, guys? What's going on? And Yaz says, bring your passion. Charles again. True. Don't think of that. Ben Cornett, Rodgers in black and silver. Yes, I could see it. Rodgers working at State Farm. We're going to Trebek it on Jeopardy. Ron says, Peter Blake, great to see you. Absolutely. And just please stay healthy, guys. We'll definitely do that. Let me go out to my Lightning insider, also my Around the NFL insider here, Mr. Travis Feely of Rocket Sports and Entertainment. Welcome, my friend. Thanks a lot for being patient on this busy night. And I got to start out. I know you're a Bears fan. Welcome to the Evolution here, live on I Love.
A Bears fan? Come on, Pete. I don't think we've ever discussed about me being a Bears fan. Come on.
Justin Fields, how excited are you as a Bears fan for him to be in that quarterback room? And at the end of the day, do you feel like Fields will start from day one?
No, absolutely not. You know he's not going to start from day one. Dalton's going to start from day one, Pete. You know this. They're going to try to follow the same kind of path as Kansas City did with Mahomes. That Nagy was with Mahomes that first year in Kansas City and helped bring him along. And it's not a win now type deal next year. Their schedule is probably, I believe, the third or the fifth hardest in the NFL. It's going to be tough to win games next year against that schedule. It's a brutal schedule for the Bears next year, and they're going to bring Fields along pretty slowly, I think, and I think they're going to have to. You got to get used to the speed of the NFL, even though that he has been playing against NFL type caliber players for the last few years at Ohio State, especially when he goes up against Clemson and Alabama, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm excited, Pete. How can you not be excited if you're a Bears fan? We all jumped off the couch when Ryan Pace picked. We've talked about this before. Picked Mitch Trubisky, and Trubisky had some success in Chicago. Not a ton, but he did take him to the playoffs twice. Even though last year was sort of an asterisk type year as they backed into the playoffs. But I also put that on Matt Nagy. And also the first year for Trubisky, he was under John Fox, and John Fox didn't know what to do with Mitch. And, Nagy had him in year two, and Nagy didn't want him as his quarterback, and it was evident just by the way he played him and how he played him. It was a pretty poor showing in my opinion, by Matt Nagy, and there's times, and even basically now, I don't think Matt Nagy is a great football coach in the NFL. Him and Ryan Pace are hand in hand with two sort of bums, in my opinion. But Pace is trying to make up for the last couple of years of missing constantly. 7 of the last 9 first and second round draft picks for Ryan Pace have been busts, or can't say bust, but bad players that have moved on and that are no longer on this club. Roquan Smith is an anomaly, and he's been the best player that Ryan Pace has drafted over the last 3 years.
Yeah, and I don't understand why NFL scouts kind of overlook Fields for Trey Lance. I see a player only played 1 game. I get it. He's got much more potential, but you've got more of a body of work with Fields. Can you make any sense of this, of why the scouts overlooked the Fields?
I didn't understand it myself, Pete. And what's weird is, they were saying that the Vikings were going to jump up to 14, and that's why, or the Vikings were going to take Fields at 14, and that's why the Bears jumped up to 11, with the trade for the Giants. And, a lot of people were like, oh, you gave up way too much. But if you think about what San Francisco gave up to move up 9 spots, the same amount of slots that the Bears moved up, they gave up 2 1s and a 3, and the Bears gave up a 1, a 5, and a 4. So, you swap the 1s and then you give up a 1 and a 5 and a 4. But then you look at the Eagles that moved up 2 spots and only gave up a 3rd. So you had, people around the NFL going, oh my God, the Bears gave up way too much to move up to 9 spots. But, they also haven't had a quarterback for 25 years, and they had to make a move. And with Ryan Pace and Nagy's job on the hot seat, you had to make something special happen. And then they went up and moved up in the second round and picked up a fantastic tackle. So, they did what they needed to do to try to save their jobs and make this team more successful. I mean, you got to remember, Pete, 2 out of the last 3 years, once again, with the asterisk, they did make the playoffs.
Yeah, they didn't. And look, they were in the first round. They had a good opportunity to beat the Saints if they make some plays in that game. But you're exactly right. Look, Pace is definitely on the hot seat. You have Matt Nagy who's on the hot seat, so you had to make that play. Speaking of the hot seat, what do you make of the Rodgers situation with Green Bay? Do you feel like he's out of there, or is this posturing by Aaron Rodgers to get the Packers to do what he wants? I mean, to me, I don't think it's a relationship that you can save. I think Rodgers has all the leverage at this point. If he wants to retire, if he wants to go and do Jeopardy, he's able to do that. He basically controls the strings in this situation. Is that how you feel?
I think the Packers control all the strings, Pete. They can either, hey, they don't have to move him. What's he going to do? Hold out? Okay, go ahead and hold out. Don't show up to camp. What are you going to do? You're going to get back that $31 million? Are you going to do that? No, he's going to suck it up, and he's going to – I think that the Packers will make a move for Julio Jones if Atlanta wants to move him, and then you bring in Julio Jones, and you basically put a smile on Rodgers' face, and he comes to camp and tries to win a Super Bowl with the Packers. I mean, I understand his situation. I understand, but he's sort of playing the same kind of card that Brett Favre played back in the day. So I don't know. To me, he's just Aaron Rodgers. He's sort of that as Colin Cowherd calls him, the California cool. But I think he's overplayed his hand. You know, you can't come at the general manager like that. You can do it with certain teams, but you can't do it with the Packers. The Packers are a whole different entity because they're owned by the fans, and they're known not to make the big move if being pressed. They won't do it. That's just not how the organization has been run for many years. And I think they're going to hold tight to their cards. And I think Rodgers will be playing quarterback for the Packers in Week 1. I may be wrong. I've been wrong before, but not very often, especially when I come on your show.
And we're on with our Around the NFL correspondent here, Mr. Travis Feely of Rocket Sports and Entertainment, of course, our Tampa Bay Lightning insider. How are the Lightning doing tonight? Of course, they're playing the Dallas Stars, so give us an update on that game.
Well, they lost 5-2 in a must-win situation if they wanted to try to win the division. It looks like they're going to be battling against the Panthers in the last 2 games of the season to decide who's going to be the number 2 home seed in the first round of the playoffs. And, you know, they took it on the chin tonight against Dallas 5-2, and they really didn't play very well. And they also had McElhaney as backup goalie, and he's just not really that good, Pete, to be honest with you. He gave up a couple bad goals, and the defense left him out to dry a couple times also. So it was a must-win game for the Lightning, and unfortunately they didn't win, and now they're not going to have the first seed in that division to overtake Carolina. But, you know, big news at Amalie Arena, a.k.a. the oil can. You know, Stamkos is back not 100% healthy, but he's out there skating, and so is Nikita Kucherov, and it looks like they'll both be back for playoffs in Game 1.
You're exactly right. And Stamkos had some comments today. The goal has always been to be ready for Game 1 of the playoffs, and everything has been trending in that direction. So that's exciting. He also says, I'm feeling much better. I'm definitely in a better place than I was a couple weeks ago. Of course, Stamkos, 34 points, 17 goals, 17 assists. And then you get back Kucherov, who we know how good he can be. 85 points, 33 goals, 52 assists in 68 games last season. So you get both of those guys back. I asked you this a couple weeks ago. Is it the Tampa Bay Lightning or the big time contender to win Stanley Cup again? Or do you see some problems there? And what are those red flags or those problems that would hold this team back from winning consecutive Stanley Cups?
You know, I don't know about winning consecutive Stanley Cups, but I think they'll have a good opportunity to get back to at least the Eastern Conference Finals. And to me, it's a make or break kind of season. You're going to have, I mean, this team is built for long term. They're going to be here, you know, competing for Stanley Cups for the next 4 or 5 years, easy. And, you know, Pete, we talk about it all the time. As long as you have number 88 in goal, you're looking at, you know, arguably the best goaltender in the world. So you got Victor, you got Vasilevsky, you still have Stammer signed, you got Kucherov signed, you got Victor signed for multiple years down the road. And it's the way this team is. You have 6 monster defensemen now. You have 3 lines of defensemen that can play with anybody in the league. And you have, you know, you gain that Stamkos, you gain that Kucherov. Everybody drops down a line. And, you know, it's just going to take a little bit of time to get that cohesiveness together to make another big run. And, you know, pound for pound on paper, this team is as good or as talented or even better than any club in the league.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think fans should be excited about this team going forward. And of course, you talk about it, their backup goalie is nothing like a Vasilevsky. And if this team has a Vasilevsky, and talk about Vazzy, he's definitely in that MVP conversation. That's how important he is to this team going forward. So I feel like if you get 2 of these key players back, and you have Vasilevsky playing at the level he's playing at, there has to be a clear advantage for this team.
Oh, absolutely, Pete. And, you know, you're going to have, you know, you got Ross Colton playing on the 3rd, 4th line. He's been playing really well, putting the puck in the net. You know, Coleman scored 6 goals in the last 8 games. He's playing well. Hold on 1 second, Pete. Hey, honey, the dog is eating your paperwork again. Dog is in here eating your paperwork.
You gotta love live television here on I Love St. Pete, of course, on Facebook, on YouTube, and of course on my Twitter account. Live television here with the man himself, Travis Feely of Rocket Sports and Entertainment, talking a little bit about the Tampa Bay Lightning. So they don't win tonight against Dallas. They have these 2 big games versus the Florida Panthers. Can they win both, and can they get the second position in their division?
Absolutely, but you know, Florida has played much better this season. They got the 3-time Stanley Cup coach in Joel Quenneville. They got a young club. They're going to play well. They're going to give the Lightning all they can over the next couple of games to get that home ice advantage for the first round of the playoffs. And it's nice that they're going to let about 7,000 fans in the Oil Can. So we'll have some kind of a crowd going up in there, and we'll be covering every game of the Stanley Cup. So in the Stanley Cup playoffs with the Lightning. So I'll be back on I Love St. Pete with Peter Blake on the Sports Web. We'll be breaking down the Stanley Cup round for round, and let's hope we get back to the Cup. But I really, Pete, I've lived in St. Petersburg for the last 13, 14 years now. I love this place. It's my home, and being in Tampa for almost 20 years and then moving here, I'm never moving out of St. Petersburg. It's a beautiful place, and love being on the I Love St. Pete platform because I do love this community. And there's some great restaurants around here, and we can talk about food, we can talk about the community, we can talk about the activities in this area, to better promote not only your show but I Love St. Pete as a whole, as a platform.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, if you don't know Travis Faley, he definitely does some great work with bands and stuff like that. There's always local bands. I was checking this platform out. They have bands out there that are playing at local bars. Absolutely. I need to get out more, getting over being sick. It would be nice to get out more, get some fresh air, get out to those restaurants. And it seems like we're getting back to normal again. So what is going on with the music business right now? I saw something there. It looks like Sebastian Stan and somebody else, they're going to redo this story with Tommy Lee and Pamela Anderson on Netflix. Are you looking forward to seeing this story?
It's funny that you just brought that up. I just saw that Lily Rose or somebody and Sebastian Stan just broke up some pictures with Tommy Lee and Pamela Anderson, and they look great doing it, hands down. And once this thing breaks, Pete, when they start showing it on Hulu, I got some inside information on the Tommy Lee and Pamela Anderson sex tape from back in the day. I do some legal work, and I know I've seen some interesting video about the guy who actually procured the tape and sold the tape and a few other things. But we'll talk about that either on the record or off the record in a future show. But you guys were talking about the Patriots earlier. It's been one of the busiest off seasons for the Patriots. You go and see what they've done. They've signed Jonnu Smith, Matthew Judon, the linebacker from the Ravens, Davin Godchuk, Jalen Mills, Hunter Henry, Kendrick Bourne, Nelson Aguilar. They're in a win now type of mode with Cam Newton for this year, and even doubling up, going out and getting Mac Jones, who I loved. I thought, granted he did have some issues getting in and out of the pocket when he had guys coming around the defensive ends because he's not as agile and he's not as fluid as far as running away from the play. But as far as accuracy, the guy's fantastic. So it seems like Belichick is trying to set up for not only this season with Cam Newton, but future seasons with Mac Jones as a starting quarterback.
I mean, you got to like that Jones pick at number 15. He falls right into their lap. I feel like I'm missing something, but here's a quarterback who wins a national championship with Alabama, who passes for 77 completion percentage. He's in the right situation. I don't think Newton's going to be a starting quarterback in this league, nor should he be. And then on top of it, I feel like the Patriots have improved their offense for Mac Jones. So in your opinion, from day one, is it Cam Newton who's going to start and then eventually Jones takes over? Or could it be a situation where, look, the Seattle Seahawks a couple years ago, or maybe more than a couple years ago, drafted Russell Wilson in the 3rd round and he starts from day one?
Well, you're going to have to see. I think Newton's going to start once again. I just can't see him throwing Jones into the fire. But once again, sort of the same thing like Fields. He played against top-notch caliber clubs. Obviously with LSU and everybody in the SEC. So we'll see what Belichick does. But Cam Newton also has a problem with staying healthy, and his accuracy is let's just say it, for a quarterback of his stature, it's pretty awful. It's pretty awful. So we'll see what Newton does. He's going to be in a tough division this year. You guys brought up the Jets. The Jets are they're going to struggle for a couple of years, even though they drafted Wilson. Wilson's going to struggle getting used to the game. And they brought in the offensive lineman from USC. That was a great move up by the Jets. I thought that was rock solid. Then he went and got the wide receiver. It's going to take some time. But Buffalo's not going anywhere, Pete. And if Tua plays, half to his potential or his alleged potential, you're going to have a 3-team team race in that division with the Jets still sitting at the bottom. But I don't think Jet fans really going to be that upset if they end up, fourth in that division. They're going to get another top 5, let's say top 6 pick, and they can keep building. So you get the first round, you get the second round, you get 2 top 5 picks in each round, or move back up again. I think the Jets are looking for the future, and they're not in. Excuse me. They're not in win now mode. They're really not, in my opinion. Because like I said, Buffalo's going to be there if they stay healthy next year with Josh Allen and the cast of characters that they got up there. They got a good club, Pete. You know this.
Well, I definitely know this. When you look at Zach Wilson, he's going into a situation which is going to be really tough because, like you said, it's a young team. There's not a lot around him, but it seems like the general manager is trying to put a lot around him. Coming out of college at a BYU, there's some questions. He can make Patrick Mahomes throws. He's being compared to an Aaron Rodgers. I mean, what do you think his impact is? Do you think his impact is going to be better than a Sam Darnold? And is it really fair to compare the two? Because it seems like this franchise has kind of turned the corner with putting weapons around their young quarterback.
Absolutely, Pete. Well, you look at the draft last year, they took the offensive lineman in the first round. Then they take the tackle this year. They're putting not only weapons, but they're going to protect this young quarterback. And, Darnold didn't have a chance. You saw what the Jets had around them. What they have around them, Robbie Anderson as the number 1. So they're going to go out there and they're going to be proactive. You got a new general manager, and you basically got a new mentality for the New York Jets. Hey, it's Broadway, and the Giants are getting better too. And you keep looking at Aaron Rodgers to go over to maybe Oakland. Yeah, do I like that move? Absolutely. Do I think him and John Gruden get on? Maybe. But if Jones doesn't continue to get any better in New York, who's to say that Rodgers doesn't go over there to New York and play on Broadway? And you've got the Shailene Woodley situation. Hey, I don't think she wants to hang out in Green Bay. What's in Green Bay? Nothing but cheese. So in that situation with Rodgers and Shailene Woodley, I just don't understand that at all. I would, if it was me, I would have stayed with Olivia Munn or with Danica Patrick. But I think those. But whatever, what do I know about his relationship? But that just seems.
I agree. The guy definitely.
But then again, Steven Tyler is dating a woman who's 31 years old, and Steven Tyler's 73 or something to that effect. So,
we all know the reason why. We know the reason why. It's all about the money at that point. Let's go out to Ben Cornett. Bears moving up is more riskier than the 49ers moving up because the 49ers were just in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. So they already have a playoff and beyond set team, but injuries did them in last year. Bears were barely a playoff team last year. Point is, 49ers are set for a deep playoff run more than the 49ers. But for me, if you're going to trade up that far, you want to get guys that have a body of work. You want to get a Mac Jones. You want to get a Justin Fields. I'm not saying Trey Lance is going to be bad. I just feel like scouts put so much on, potential. He may be able to make all the throws.
I don't understand this, Pete. We're going back to the show that we had a couple weeks ago before the draft. I don't understand how you can compare the body of work with Trey Lance and the body of work with Justin Fields. And, you got Allen Robinson, you got Tariq Cohen, you got David Montgomery. They're building up the offensive line that played poorly at the first half of the season, but really came on in the second half. If they can get anything out of the secondary and shore that up, you still got Mac, you got Akeem Hicks, you got Robert Quinn on the edge, who had a horrible year last year, which seemed like a huge waste of money. So this team could compete. Do I think this team's going to go to the Super Bowl? Hell no, I don't think this team's going to go to the Super Bowl, and I don't think they're ready. Could they compete for a playoff spot in the NFC? Absolutely. Do I think they're a better team than San Francisco at this point? Probably not. But people are underestimating this Bears team, even with Andy Dalton, because all he has to do is be able to read a defense and make a damn throw, a deep throw every once in a while, which Mitch Trubisky could not do to save his life. The worst deep ball thrower in the league, Ben Cornett.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I agree with you on that.
You still have Roquan playing the middle. If they can, and Danny Trevathan, if they can just keep the offense on the field. And if Dalton sucks, which there's a good chance that he will, maybe they bring in Justin Fields, and he's got the pedigree to possibly come in and make the throws and read the defense and take a hit and pull his bootstraps up and get back on the field after he got crushed in that against Clemson and came back on the field and played well? Are you kidding me? I'll take that guy all day long.
I agree. I don't understand it. He played through broken ribs. He's throwing 5 touchdowns, over 300 passing yards. We're on with Travis Faley of Rocket Sports and Entertainment, my Around the NFL correspondent, and of course, my Lightning insider here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television, the Sports Web, live on I Love St. Pete platform on Facebook. Got my start from watching Peter Blake on the Sports Web, LFG. Love you, Christopher Cole. Danica wore the pants in that relationship, and Rogers couldn't deal. I got to go and fire those pants.
What about Olivia Munn? Olivia Munn could have been wearing them too,
You can wear my. I'm not going to go there. All right.
I don't think Pete's wearing pants right now. I really don't think so. But
that's the great thing about doing this show in your apartment. You know what? You don't necessarily have to wear pants, but yes, I'm wearing shorts right now. Let's talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Much has been made about Joe Tryon, but the big time story, of course, always goes back to quarterbacks. How surprised were you that they drafted a Kyle Trask late on in the second round?
I wasn't surprised at all, Pete. I don't know. I caught most of Leo's segment, even though he has internet from prehistoric days. And, we got to do a GoFundMe page for Leo's internet connection. I'll tell you that much. But I love the Trask move, Pete. I thought they were going to go after Kellen Davis or Mond. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago. And when those two guys went, then it seemed to be a no-brainer to go after Trask. Bringing back 22-plus starters and then, having the depth that the Bucs do have. I thought they were going to go after Brousseau, but he was taken right before them in the first round. And to get Kyle Trask at the end of the second round to be groomed under the GOAT was a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer to me. And then they draft a kid, Jalen Darden. All you hear about is how he's fast. He's 5'8", 174. Brady's favorite guy. Just another wide receiver on this team like they needed it. But they re-sign in Antonio Brown. You have a Tyler Johnson. You have a Scotty Miller. And then you get another fast guy that more than likely is going to be able to contribute in this offense, especially on special teams. What did you think of that pick? And what did you think of Joe Tryon? You get him as a player that you can develop under a JPP and a Shaq Barrett.
I love it because you're looking at the future with these picks, Pete, and you know this first and foremost. You're going to see one of these wide receivers. Antonio Brown's not going to be with this club next year. He'll probably drop off. You'll probably have one of maybe JPP be gone at the end of next year, and you're going to bring Tryon in and get him ready to go for next season. This team fundamentally and as a whole, from ownership and from Jason Light, has finally put it all together and is not only seeing the present and then no longer looking in the past, but also looking into the future. And if you're a Buccaneer fan, you got to be pretty happy with what this club has done over the last couple seasons.
What do you make of the comments from Tom Brady about trading 2 Super Bowls to go undefeated? Is that where their mindset is? I know it's crazy. Every team wants to go undefeated. And there was ESPN this week, I believe it was Jeff Darlington, saying they have 0 chance to do that. I mean, haven't they learned by now? I think it's Dan Graziano. Haven't they learned by now? You don't rule it out with the Tom Brady, but what do you make of those comments? He would trade actually 2 Super Bowls to go undefeated. And in your opinion, do you feel like the Bucs have a genuine opportunity to go undefeated this year, or is that too much to ask?
I don't really like talking about undefeated. The NFL is a game by game type situation, even though I did put half my mortgage in on the Buccaneers going over 11.5, 17 game season. I cannot see this team not winning at least 12 games to 14 games and pretty much locking up that number 1 seed to get into the NFC Championship game. But I don't like to talk about going undefeated. I think it puts a lot of added pressure, unneeded added pressure. And I think saying, Dan Graziano, whoever mentioned saying, oh, it's impossible or whatever, I think that guy's just looking for airtime and for a write-up in the paper or online or something to that effect. But I did like Brady saying that he wants to get Kyle Trask out there throwing together. I think that's just another reason why Brady's the GOAT, baby.
Yeah, I tell you right now, let me go ahead and put you in the lobby because we're going to hear from Kyle Trask. He made an appearance here on NFL Network, so let me put you in the lobby. Stand by.
That or was checking in on when I'm going to get into town so we can, get together and maybe do some throwing and things like that. And, that meant a lot to me. And you can just, not only Tom, but a couple of other guys have reached out. So, you can definitely tell that they have a great culture and a great group of people just in this building. And, I can't wait to get started.
I mean, a lot to learn here from Tom. Is there something specific about his game that you're eager to dive into with him directly?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I just want to do whatever I can to help the team. And, obviously the goal is going to be to win another Super Bowl. And that's going to be my main focus. And whatever I can do at the end of the day that's going to lead the team in the right direction, I'll be willing to do that.
All right, so first and foremost, let me bring back Travis Faley of Rocket Sports and Entertainment. He Bull Durhamed it when he was asked what he can do for the team. He basically said in so many words, whatever I need to do for the team, that's what I'm going to do for the team. It's an old cliche, but it's a smart cliche by the young player. Of course, a lot of Gator fans here going crazy locally. I'm not really surprised with Brady, but we've seen veteran quarterbacks before, namely a Brett Favre and an Aaron Rodgers situation where Favre basically taught Rodgers nothing and didn't want to have anything to do with them. We saw this with Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, how refreshing is it to see Brady basically want to take this kid under his wing and teach him some things here in the National Football League?
Well, we all know that Kyle Trask isn't giving Tom Brady any kind of competition for that number one spot where, you had Favre and you had Rodgers and, those two guys are a whole different animal. But you also got Ben Roethlisberger thinking that, hey, they might be bringing this guy in to take my job. And Brady obviously doesn't have to have that it's kind of a competition, Pete. He's a number one starter. This guy's not coming in. He knows he's not even the second string quarterback. He's a third string quarterback, and it's refreshing. But who's gonna be Susan Sarandon in this situation for Kyle Trask? That's what I need to know.
You're such an idiot.
You brought up Bull Durham. Bull Durham.
You know what I mean. So you like the pick there. Of course, they re-sign a Blaine Gabbert. So all is assumed that Gabbert is going to be the backup of this team. The odd man out most likely is Ryan Griffin. I get a lot of fans that say keep 4 quarterbacks. There's no way.
You can't. Most teams aren't even keeping 3 quarterbacks, and you're sitting in the same situation with the Bears right now with Nick Foles as the 2 or the 3, and you got Justin Fields. At some point, you got to say, what are you going to do? You're going to make Nick Foles the third quarterback, and you're going to put him on the sideline. You're going to have to make Justin Fields the second quarterback, or you're going to be able to get rid of Foles for a 5th round pick. I don't think so. I think you might end up having to cut him, but you're in the same situation. You're going to have to, obviously, Pete, the Bucs didn't pick up Kyle Trask to make him 4th or put him on the practice squad. He's going to be your 3rd string quarterback, and the other guy's going to get moved. They're going to get cut. That first and foremost.
Absolutely, you know that, and we'll see what happens. The Bucs this week signing some players to once again, help that depth out. Seems like they got a love affair with North Texas. We talked about Jalen Darden. Talking about the draft overall, were you surprised by something? What teams? And I know it's tough to say because you got to let a prospect develop, 2 or 3 years at least. But were there teams that, in your opinion, that kind of stood out? And were there teams, once again, that you just don't really know what the hell they're doing? The Raiders.
Well, I knew Arizona needed help defensively, but I was surprised with their linebacker pick. Obviously, last year when the Raiders took the defensive end, we were all shocked that they took him, but he had a hell of a season last year. His name escapes me, but you know what I'm talking about. So, I mean, those guys, these guys are, what's that?
It's Cleveland from Clemson.
That's right. He had a great season last year. And, you have to give some of these guys the benefit of the doubt. I mean, I come after Ryan Pace on a regular basis, but these guys watch a hell of a lot more tape than I do. They know what the structure of their team and the fit of the team for these specific players. And what is it, Pete? It's probably 25% of first round picks are pretty much 25 to 50% are busts at this point. So it's a crapshoot, but you just want to, you want your GM to do the homework that it's funny because, we sit on our couches at home and we're sitting here going, why did you take that guy? Why didn't you take this guy? And then somewhere down the road, the other guy that you wanted him to take pans out, a la, Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes. And you're going, why do I know more than the general manager does? But granted, Ryan Pace and some of these guys make great picks in the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth round. But it's the first and second round guys that are really going to make impact, especially immediate impact. And I'll give the Raiders, I'll give Arizona the benefit of the doubt, but the Raiders really need to start doing something, especially with that $10 million a year contract for 10 years for John Gruden. The Henry Ruggs pick last year, that looks like that's going to be pretty beneficial. But I would like to see, me being a little bit selfish and having to deal with Packer fandom for the last 25 years, as my wife's family's been a Packer fan for all these years, going through the Favre years, going through the Rodgers years, and being a Bears fan. I wouldn't mind seeing Rodgers over in Oakland. That's for damn sure.
I mean, I tell you right now, Rodgers is out of that division. You definitely feel a lot better if you're a Bear, Viking, or even a Lion fan. I don't think the Lions are going to compete, so it's going to come down to the Vikings and most likely the Bears, and we'll see what the impact is if Rodgers does leave. But
everybody keeps talking about this Denver situation. Denver bringing him in sort of like a la Peyton Manning. I just don't think they have the rest of the team to do it. They have a decent running game. They have a couple decent wide receivers, but to compete in the AFC West, you're not only battling the Raiders, who can compete, they're going to come after you game in and game out. Yes. Do they have problems defensively? Absolutely. Can they score points? Yes. But then you got Justin Herbert, who's going to be around for a long time, and obviously Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, who didn't have a huge fall off. Granted, they lost some players on the offensive line, but they stacked and packed and brought in not only B grade players, they brought in A grade plus players in Orlando Brown Jr., who's going to be a potential Hall of Famer, and they got him for a steal from Baltimore. So, which is crazy to me. I mean, granted, Baltimore went out and they picked up an offensive lineman to take his place. But, you can't give up Hall of Fame offensive linemen, potential Hall of Fame. The guy who's been in the league 3 years, he's been in the Pro Bowl 2 years, and you give them to, one of your huge competitors in the AFC. I just didn't understand that from a Baltimore standpoint whatsoever. And I'm sure Lamar Jackson didn't understand it either.
Well, I tell you right now, Lamar Jackson has to be happy with them doing this is amazing. All right. I mean, the Packers should take note. You actually go out and get a wide receiver in a Rashard Bateman from Minnesota, highly successful, of course, under PJ Fleck, who a lot of Buccaneer fans are very familiar with, not only coaching wide receivers, but being a coach that you're basically going to run through a wall for. And, Bateman adding to that offense already with the Marquise Brown, it's kind of do or die for Lamar Jackson, right? I mean, they pick up his fifth-year option. He's got to do something. He's got to get them further than what he's done, right, in your opinion?
Well, he had that moniker over his head, or the stigma over his head that he can't do it in the playoffs. He finally got his first playoff win last season, and it's just moving forward. I can't see Baltimore moving off him. Maybe pick up the fifth-year option and give him maybe a 3-year extension. Either before this season starts or during the season. I can't see him moving off and starting over. But how much longer is this kid going to stay healthy? You keep running the ball. Sooner or later, he's going to get smacked. And once again, you get rid of that potential Hall of Fame offensive lineman. He's going to have to watch his back. But Pete, I'm going to let you go because I want you to get Sean the Sports Down, and we got to get together as a I hate to say it this way, but as a threesome and get back on the sports web and go back to the old school Saturday role, because Sean brings the passion, but Sean also brings some nonsense. But it'd be good to get back on the show. And the Travis Bailey Restaurant Pick of the Week for I Love St. Pete is Grande Hacienda on 4th Street North over here, 11th Street, 11th Avenue, 4th Street North over here, St. Pete. Fantastic Mexican food. If you like Mexican food, get the Grande Hacienda. And they're not paying me for this plug, but we ate there last night. It was awesome.
All right, good stuff there. Travis Bailey of Rocket Sports and Entertainment. Thanks a lot for your time here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television, live here on I Love St. Pete.
Well, thanks for having me, Pete. And once again, I love St. Pete.
There you go. Good stuff, Travis Bailey. Thanks a lot for your time. We'll get you out of here. Let's get out to Sean the Sports Don. Sean, welcome to the Evolution of Sports Talk Television, the Sports Web. What do you have to say?
What's going on with your spider?
What's going on with you, buddy? We're on I Love St. Pete, a platform that has a 76,000 following on Facebook, of course, live on YouTube, and my Twitter account. What's on your mind? What do you think about this Bucks draft? I know you have lots to say, so I'll let you just take it, okay?
Okay. Well, I'll tell you. Well, I don't have a lot. Well, yeah, I kind of do. I'll tell you this. All right. Okay. So obviously, outside of maybe the first 2 draft picks, I didn't know much about any of the players that the Bucks would draft.
Nothing. You didn't do your Mel Kiper draft analysis or Todd
no,
McShay?
You know, I never do that. I always like to have my guys that I look at who I think will make impacts in the league.
Right.
But at the end of the day, when the Bucks do draft their players, I always like to do research on them after they draft them to say whether or not this guy could really come in and make an impact. You know, so like when people were mad at the Bucks picking Ali Marpet over the Florida State lineman, like, hey, you know what? I kind of like what he brings to the table.
Yeah, he's kind of turned out pretty good. Right.
Sean Murphy Button. People were mad at Sean. Well, why we didn't get greedy with? Hey, wait a minute. I looked at Sean Murphy Button. He made plays in college, so like he made interceptions. So I like that. So so I'm not going to sit up here and say A, B, C, D, whatever. We'll see what these guys will be. But I know the big one.
I gotta read this. I gotta read this comment right now. What a bum!
Okay.
Not doing his homework.
Let me tell you something. Hey, whoever said that, let me say something. Whoever said that dude ain't did no research either. Because if he's trying to tell me he know how to break down film, I can tell you that dude right there wanted us to pick Johnny Manziel. That dude right there was probably happy that we picked your boy from Florida.
You always go back to Manziel. Well, look.
Yeah,
I know you do that.
No, hold on. Let me finish. I'm just saying he don't know whatever. He think he did some research because he read mock drafts. What I try to tell these fans that read mock drafts, that get on their teams, Jason Light, for example, for picking players that they didn't know anything about, I'm saying shut up and let those players play, and then we can determine whether or not they're a good pick. Because I can guarantee you don't know anything about Scotty Miller until he's here. So don't let that dude that said I'm a bum, like, hey, no, I had no idea who Scotty Miller was before the Bucks picked him. Stop the bull crap. And all these fans are like, oh, I did the film study. You didn't do no film study. 1, because you never played football before in your life. 2, you don't know how to break down.
That's not nice.
Really?
That's not nice. There's some people out there.
I'm being 100% honest. 99% of the people that's up there telling you they should have picked them don't have no idea what they're talking about. Okay. Now, when you're talking to me, when we picked Chris Godwin, I was like, hey, that guy's going to be great. Not because I did film study on Chris Godwin, but because, like I told you, I had a friend who's from Philadelphia. I watched a lot of Penn State games with him, and he watched a lot of Florida State games with me. So I knew who Chris Godwin was. But if you remember that draft, a lot of people were mad because the Bucs didn't pick a running back in the 3rd round. That was also the Dalvin Cook draft, too, by the way.
Yep.
Oh, wow, we didn't pick this guy. I was like, hey, guys, I said, listen, I don't know what you guys see, but I tell you, Chris Godwin will be a beast in about a year or 2.
Well, it's better than the Jeremy McNugget deal that didn't work out. That's not his name, but
Jeremy McNicholson and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Listen,
McNugget.
Let's stop acting like you guys watch stuff. What I will say, because this is the one that everybody's talking about.
Wait a minute. I think my fans watch. I think my fans are smart people here. I don't think they're dumb. I just like them.
Because No, I didn't say. Listen. Let me tell you something. You give these people too much credit, and I don't give myself credit unless it's real. You feel me?
No,
I'm not gonna sit up here and
I don't feel you, because
gonna,
you always give yourself credit. We're on Sean. We're on with Sean, the Sports Star, my former co-host from a radio station in a galaxy far, far away. All you do, buddy, is pat yourself on the back all the time.
No, I only pat myself on the back when I know for sure what I'm talking about. I don't let Mel Kiper tell me Greedy Williams is the guy supposed to pick, and when the Bucks don't pick him, and it was 9 cornerbacks that was picked before Greedy Williams, and oh, by the way, he hasn't done anything yet. Have you ever heard his name since he's been in the league?
He has not done anything yet.
But I know when the Bucks picked Sean Murphy-Bunting, all the Buck fans were, why you didn't pick Greedy Williams? And oh, by the way, I think Sean Murphy-Bunting was the 4th cornerback pick, but Greedy Williams wasn't like till the 8th or 9th quarterback pick late in the 2nd round. So that's what I'm saying. I don't get involved with what Mel Kiper or Todd McShay or whoever else who's the gurus tell me should be picked, because that's what fans do, and they get themselves messed up and entangled in that.
Mhm.
I like to say, my team picked this guy. Let me see who this guy is. I didn't know who Jordan Whitehead was before the Bucks picked him, but I gave him an opportunity to go out there and perform for me, and he has done that. But the pick that we're talking about right now, I think that's on everybody's mind, is the quarterback. I think that's what you really want me to get
Well,
to.
Kyle Trask,
Kyle
and
Trask.
you're not a big fan of that pick, and I talked to you off
I am
air.
not.
Why not? Because
I'm
Brady
not.
seems
Well-
like he's a big fan of it.
Well, no. Well, what Brady is doing is Brady understands I'm 44 now, because you got to understand when Brady was 36, he
Right.
was not a big fan
Right.
of his team drafting a quarterback in the 2nd round, and that's why he got that quarterback traded. Okay, at this point,
Well,
I'm
no,
44.
Jimmy Garoppolo. Yeah, I agree with you on that. Jimmy Garoppolo, I agree. He got him
Yeah.
traded, but there's more to
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So.
Well, no, it's more to it because you got to remember, if you read a lot of the articles that's out there during that time,
Sure.
Belichick was trying to trade Brady
I
to
agree.
the 49ers.
Which is
Yeah,
ridiculous in itself.
And Brady went above his head to the owner like, hey, man, what are you doing? And so, Brady wasn't about that life. I see a lot of people getting on Aaron Rodgers because of this whole Jordan Love thing, but then he did the same. And I guess Aaron Rodgers is 36, 37. He's in the same situation that Brady was when you had Garoppolo. Those quarterbacks at that time, they're not trying to mentor nobody. They're still trying to win and see if they can win some championships. And Garoppolo is not on Brady's level, and Trask is not on Brady's level. But at this point, Brady has no worry about it because the Bucs have already given him an assurance that you get to play until you're ready to leave. I wouldn't have picked Trask, not because he went to Florida. So all these Florida Gator fans out there that's listening, they want to just love it and think he's going to be the next Brady. We don't know that. We've never seen a 2nd round pick come in and
Right.
sitting on the bench and come in and do that. The
Exactly.
2nd round picks that have been good, Drew Brees was drafted to be the starting quarterback when he was in the 2nd round. The only reason why he went to the 2nd round because he was short. Okay. But he was drafted to be that.
True.
I wanted the Bucs to draft a cornerback or something defensively to continue to build that depth because we're going for 2, especially when you turn around 2 or 3 days later and you re-sign Blaine Gabbert.
Yeah.
Like if you have Blaine Gabbert, we're going for 2. I get it. You want to have that quarterback in waiting, but we could have done that next year. We could have got a quarterback next year. And maybe if we don't win the Super Bowl, maybe we can get a higher quarterback, a quarterback that's a higher rated. Because when I read the thing about Trask,
Mhm.
it's all over the place. It's either he's going to be a backup quarterback or he don't have an arm. I don't see anything that says he could be a franchise guy. So I'd rather get a 2nd round cornerback who could step in just in case Davis gets hurt.
Well,
Just in
I tell
case
you right now,
Sean
I would
Murphy-Bunting
trust
gets hurt.
I would trust the opinion of Bruce Arians and Jason Light and the way they drafted, and they feel like Trask is the future of this team. I would go with that, and then on top of it, the big time advantage here that you're going to have with the drafting of a Trask is he's going to be able to learn from a Brady for a couple years, which is invaluable. And for me, I think it's a breath of fresh air to see a veteran quarterback that actually wants to take a young kid and show him the ropes, unlike a Big Ben, unlike a Brett Favre with an Aaron Rodgers, and it seems like Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to do the same thing.
Again, we're talking about guys who were still in the middle of their playing career.
Right.
So none of those guys are trying to do that. Brady is not in the middle. Brady knows he only has 2 or 3 years left, so it's okay for him to do that now. That's apples and oranges. Also, by the way, we've had a lot of 2nd round quarterbacks that sat behind Brady
Sure.
that does nothing. We had Jacoby Brissett. Is he great? No. Guess what? the Colts have put 2 quarterbacks, since Jacoby Brissett had a chance to start. And by the way, Jacoby Brissett sat behind Tom Brady, and he was a second-round pick, I think he was. And then you had, again, your boy over there, Garoppolo. 49ers are trying to get rid of Garoppolo because, you know what, he sat behind Brady for a couple of years and played, but he's not that guy. My point is, either you are a franchise guy or you're not a franchise guy. So when you get your opportunity to shine, you will. I'm just saying, in this particular time, if we're trying to win, go for 2. If Jamel Dean and let's say Sean Murphy-Bunting and those guys get hurt, what do you have now from a cornerback perspective? See, we're never going to add Kyle Trask to play. And now that we got
you have a Carlton Day. Wait a minute.
Now that we have Gabbert back, we're definitely not going to ask him to play next year if Brady goes down.
No.
So if players go down, I need a player that can step in and can help us win now, because that's what we're trying to do, is win now.
All right, I got to read some of these comments and then I'll get you out of here. Cats 2012 NC. What do you think of Darden? Let me ask you, Sean, here. We're on with Sean, the Sports Don, on the evolution of sports talk television, the sports web. Jalen Darden, small guy, 5'8", 174. But I tell you right now, when he gets out in space, he's electric. Even BA talking about how he's Tom Brady's favorite pick here. So they trade up for him. What are your thoughts on this young wide receiver?
Like my thoughts is like I am on any of the picks that we've gotten, especially in the last 4 years. Let's let that young man play. Okay. I think he can definitely be a factor if it translates. You know what I mean? Because I guess what we're doing now, we're going to use him as a return guy. That's where he's going to make his money.
Exactly.
Being a return guy. So can he make some dynamic plays in the punt game? Because I really don't know about the kickoff game, because the way it's set up now, you really can't do a lot on the kickoff. But definitely in the punt game, can he do that? Can we get him some screens and do some things, and he can get out and make you miss? Because I think he has a different skill set than Scotty Miller. Because remember when we got Scotty Miller, everybody was saying the same thing: kickoff, punt game. Scotty Miller is more fast than he is quick. Right? So Scotty Miller can run by you, but this guy, he has that short, quick burst type of deal where he can move laterally but still be moving at 100 miles an hour and then take it off, and then he's going to 150 miles an hour. So it's going to be interesting to see just how that translates. So I like the pick. I like the pick because more speed you have on offense, more speed you have in your special teams, that's just going to make you a better team. Because, again, if you look at our team, special teams is where we lack, for both on the punt cover and also on punt return. So getting that guy, if he can fill that void, then that's going to be a huge help. Can you imagine him giving Tom Brady short fields more than just 2 times a year, maybe 6 times a year, because he can just do that? I mean, come on, that changes everything. So I like the pick, and I'm all for it, and I guarantee you they'll find a way to put him in the offense here and there too on some spot duties.
Absolutely. I agree with you on that. I think they're going to use him a lot like Miami's going to use a Jalen Waddle, where you move him around and you try to present a mismatch nightmare, and you look at the way Darden plays the slot. That definitely could become a weapon. And again, at the end of the day, you can't teach speed. And I don't know about you, but I got tired of seeing Jaden Mickens return kicks last year. I thought he was lost in the sauce. So I'm looking to see this kid. I'm looking to see this competition that's going to happen in this upcoming season. The schedule is going to be released. There's a lot of talk that it's going to be the Buffalo Bills, the Saints. Who do you think the Bucs open up with on Wednesday night when they release that schedule?
See, there you go again, doing that whole Mel Kiper procrastination stuff.
What? I'm on a sports talk show. This is what we do. We speculate.
Listen, let me tell you something. I can care less who they open up against. They got to be ready to go, because here's the thing. We've told our fans that, we got an off season now. And we got everybody back. So if we playing I heard the Cowboys may be somebody that we play.
Yeah.
I saw that, like you said, the Buffalo Bills may be one that we play. Look, whoever we play, we got to be prepared to line up, because whoever we play, it's going to be a big time team. They're not going to put, bull crap. They're not going to put the Bucs against like the Lions. They're not going to do that on opening night. So whoever we play,
hopefully
it's
not.
Be a team. No, it's not. It's going to be a team that's going to be one considered to be a Super Bowl contender, or someone like I said, like the Cowboys, who's just going to get eyeballs on it because they're the America's team. You got Dak Prescott coming back. You got a big time offense over there. And then they did add some pieces to their defense, so they're going to always get eyeballs. So I can see all of that. Whoever the Bucs play, though, they have to come out and they have to establish their dominance from day one. I don't care who it is. They have to establish their dominance from day one. And I think they have the capability and the possibility of doing that. And I'm looking forward to it. So I just don't care who they play. You line it up and let's go ahead and hit somebody in the mouth.
Absolutely. And you're going to have competition at every position besides, of course, the obvious, the quarterback position. With that being said, everybody's had an opinion tonight, Leo and Travis, about Aaron Rodgers. Do you think he gets moved, and who does he get moved to? I've talked about the Las Vegas Raiders with the John Gruden. It's been rumored that the Denver Broncos could be in on this. I don't think it's the San Francisco 49ers. In your opinion, does Aaron Rodgers have every right to leave Green Bay because this organization hasn't done enough, or should Aaron Rodgers shut up and play in his contract?
Well, listen, I'd never tell any player to shut up and play in their contract because teams can cut you whenever they want to, and teams can trade you whenever they want to. So if you get yourself in a position that you're Aaron Rodgers and you don't like what's being done to you, if you want to leave, you've given these guys this many years, by all means do it. And there's a funny thing. Aaron Rodgers, I heard this stat. I don't know if you heard it.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Rodgers has never thrown a touchdown to a first round draft pick other than, I think it was Mercedes Lewis.
Yeah, they have not drafted a wide receiver since 2002.
But not just drafted, but signed in free agency.
Ridiculous.
He's never thrown a touchdown to a first round pick in his whole career.
It's crazy.
That's just crazy.
Yeah.
And for what he's put on the board in terms of, he has the best record by far as it relates to touchdown to interception ratio. And you have not given him those type of things, and then he sees a Tom Brady goes to Tampa and he has like all these first round draft picks, or at least first round talents, where it's just like, hey, but I don't get that. I can see a guy like him saying, I want to go. So I'm not mad at him for wanting to go. And I told you a couple weeks ago when you did your show that Denver Broncos are definitely in the hunt. And I think that's going to be the one he goes to because they have a lot of weapons on the outside and their defense is still pretty good. So that's a team he can go to and give them that same type of boost that Tom Brady just gave these Buccaneers, and he can do that over there in Denver. And oh, by the way, people say, well, he's going up against, Mahomes.
Sure.
He's not scared of Mahomes because in his mind, I'm Aaron Rodgers. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm willing to take that. I got a big time defense. I have weapons on offense. Let me see what I can do with this, and let's see what goes on. So I think that's the one. If I'm the Packers, you got to get rid of him. If it's true what he said and he wants to get out of there, because you don't want a person in your team that don't want to be there. And if Jordan Love ain't ready, that's too bad because you guys picked Jordan Love when you could have picked a wide receiver when it was one of the deepest wide receiver rooms we've ever seen in our life. What's the wide receiver that went to the Cowboys?
Lamb,
year?
CD Lamb.
Right. I think they had an opportunity. To pick a CD Lamb.
I think there was maybe they passed on him, but I think you may be right. You might be right. Going back to last year's draft, I have to look it up. But look, they have not drafted a number one wide receiver, a first round wide receiver since 2002. And listen to this name, Javon Walker out of Florida State. So I don't know what they're doing there with that organization, but at the end of the day, I see some of the fans' standpoint where Rodgers knew what he was getting into because he got drafted in 2005. He had to sit under a Brett Favre. That's just what the organization does. But the problem is that Rodgers, a lot like Favre, is still playing at a high level. So for me, I don't care what the Packers try to do as an organization. That bridge has been burned, and I think he's definitely traded somewhere, either to the Broncos or to the Raiders. Anything else, buddy?
But you got to remember, too, though, and I will go back to that draft, too, when they got
somebody said T. Higgins and Jefferson. Jefferson definitely was on the board. I believe at that point they passed up on him.
And you got to remember this too. When the Packers picked Aaron Rodgers with Favre was in that. Remember, Favre had like 4 or 5 years where he was acting like he didn't know if he was going to retire or not.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they just got tired of it. Like, hey, well, when they picked Aaron Rodgers, it kind of accelerated, and he still was coming back. I don't know. Favre became so big of a diva.
Sure.
It's like, you know what? They had to do some insurance here. With this particular situation, there was no insurance you had to do. Everybody knew you needed to get a weapon for Aaron Rodgers, and you chose to get a quarterback that, by the way, what I'm hearing now, he's not even ready now.
Yeah.
Like, they've had him that's how far of a reach that was. And it's just, while we worried about, and I'm going to go back to the Buck pick right quick. I know you got to go to another caller, but when you have a window to win now, let's not worry about the next heir apparent.
I agree.
We can worry about the next heir apparent after your window has closed, and we can figure that out on the fly. Especially if we got a team that's good, and maybe we can get a veteran that can come in and be very good and be kind of very competitive, get to the playoffs, and maybe draft someone that can sit now, as opposed to worrying about, well, in 3 years, 4 years, for somebody. Why we years right now when we're trying to win a now? Let's get a player that can help us Super Bowl now. And if we win a Super Bowl now, oh, by the way, you've given your fans, you've given yourself as an organization 4 or 5 years. So maybe if you're not as good, we can be okay, especially if you don't want a Super Bowl, especially if you don't want 2 like the Bucs are trying to do. I don't think any Bucs fan will be mad at the Bucs if in 3 years our quarterback really that good.
I got to read this.
Because we can always look back and say, you know what, we got 3 in our coffers. We're good. We're one of the better teams in the league as it relates to Super Bowl champions. We're good. Let you guys figure it out. And I think teams sometimes overthink it. They overcook the grits, like I like to say, and you're wasting time because you got players on your team right now that's ready to win now. Let's win right now.
I agree. Let's win right now. And this team is definitely set up to win right now, but they're also looking to the future. I got to read this comment, then I'll get you out of here. Settle down, Beavis. So I've heard it all. Somebody thought we were Beavis and Butthead. My former co-host from a radio station far, far away, Mr. Sean the Sports Don.
Tell that dude he has no idea what he's talking about.
Somebody called you a bum. That's great. All right, good stuff, my friend. I'm gonna go ahead and give you this one right here. Good stuff, my friend. Thanks a lot for the call. Appreciate you, Sean the Sports Don.
You have a good one.
Yes, sir.
You have a good one, man.
All right.
Tell the fans to wisen up.
All right. We got to get you on here. Sean, get you off of here. All right, let's read these comments, and I think we'll wrap it up because my voice, I haven't done this in a little while. So I've been talking all week. I've been talking all day long. So it's trying to go. It's trying to do something weird here. So I'll try not to yell at you, but definitely get on the phone line. 727-255-0391 at 727-255-0391. Let me read these comments. Cats 2012 NC. Hello. Hey, Peter. I'm not getting notifications like I did with Bucks Report. How do I get notifications to the sports web? We'll work on that. Okay. I don't know what's going on. Christopher Cole says, I watched Darden's highlights. He's a beast. He says that making a guy miss is like bruising teeth. You got to do it. Love it. I love Darden. I think he's, going to be a weapon on special teams, and eventually he may be a playmaker, but you look at this wide receiving depth, of course, you've got Godwin next year that you basically are going to re-sign. Evans is getting up there in age. You've got Antonio Brown. So not all these players are going to be on this team. And then you look at the future, Tyler Johnson, Scotty Miller, and possibly a Jalen Darden, excuse me. So you definitely got some opportunities there. And I think this kid, definitely when he gets out in this space, he's electric. I love that comment there. I think that's Brendan Spikes. I don't know what's going on. Why are they doing the Facebook user? Here we go. I got a guy. I like that. That's funny. Wasn't Trask. It's not trash. It's not trash. It's Trask. Only a 2-star recruit going into college. He improved himself. Apples and oranges are both around in fruit and have seeds very comparable. What that is. Mickens was much better later on in the season. I'll give you that, but I got tired of seeing it. Last year, they made us play New Orleans at their home with almost no offseason. It can't be much worse than that. I agree. And if you're Super Bowl champion and you're looking at that schedule release on Wednesday night, you have to expect the Bucs to start at home. Either versus the Buffalo Bills, the Saints. I mean, would they do the New England Patriots on the first game? So, I don't know. Would be must-see TV, right, on Thursday night, you assume? So, I think it could be the Bills and New Orleans Saints. And, of course, the Saints being a division rival, possibly having Jameis Winston, the former Bucs quarterback, start. There's storylines there. That's what you love about the National Football League. There's always a storyline. There's always a story. There's always players doing this, going to former teams, counting me out. Now I got to prove something. We're going to hear it. If it's New Orleans and it's Jameis Winston, we're going to hear it. We're going to hear it all week. He wants to get revenge on this Bucs team. Good luck with this defense. Good luck with this overall team because they're stacked. They're definitely the favorite. Could they go undefeated? I'm not going to rule it out, but it's tough to go 20-0. It's tough. What the Miami Dolphins did in 1972 may never be eclipsed. Ever. I hate to say it, but it's just a tough game. And there's so many players that are competitive, so many teams that are going to be competitive. You know, you think a team is going to lay down like the Rams or the Jets in that case, where the Jets were supposed to lay down and the Rams lose to the Jets. The Jets are not supposed to win. It happens. Any given Sunday. One of my favorite football movies, by the way. Just saying. So it could be New Orleans. It could be Buffalo. We'll see on Wednesday night. Rodgers is full of it, says Bucks time 12. Never had a first-round draft pick either, and he did fine without complaints. Brady never. How Tampa Bay Buccaneers have. He's never had these type of weapons before, which is why he's been ultra successful. Excuse me. Rodgers doesn't throw picks because he's not willing to take the type of risk you need to take in the playoffs. He cares more about his stats than anything else. T. Higgins, agree. Jefferson from the Vikings also, we talked about that. Favre held them hostage. That situation was crazy, was it not? I always go back to it. I'm starting out at radio at 10:10 a.m. Go to sleep thinking that the Bucs are going to get Brett Favre because it's all that everybody talks about all day long. And at the 12th hour, the New York Jets swoop in and make the trade. And, of course, Favre plays there for a year and then goes to the Vikings. The whole situation was just drama. It was all drama. How is it that Brady has welcomed Trask to town, set up a time to get together, and Rodgers is still whining about some BS imaginary slight from over a year ago? Every team has a backup quarterback. I agree, but when you draft a quarterback the first round and you don't even let him know, and he's playing high level, and for some reason you draft a quarterback instead of a wide receiver for him. That's a little bit frustrating, right? I mean, you put yourself in those shoes of Rodgers. You see what he's thinking about. You're at a high-level job. You're the best one in your room, and somebody's trying to replace you with a younger replacement that you know is not as good as you. I get it. It's the facts of life. It's what happens. Any NFL team can cut you at any time. That's why you have a contract, but you gotta feel for Rodgers, in my opinion. You do. You get notifications by pressing the bell icon next to the subscribe icon. Okay, well, hopefully somebody did that. If you haven't, subscribe. Again, if you're on Facebook, go to I Love St. Pete, like them, and you'll be able to see the notifications, hopefully, on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television and on YouTube. I'm on Twitter. Nobody's paying attention to Twitter, so I think I'm probably going to drop Twitter because nobody cares. But I'm on 2 Facebook sites. I'm on my Facebook page. I'm on I Love St. Pete, which, by the way, go to stpetekeytag.com Check him out. 76,000 following. It's amazing. And we're going to be on here. We're going to be talking sports, and you'll get the notification if you're on Facebook. Hopefully you get the notification on YouTube. I mean, this is what I'm hearing right now. I get no calls right now. I guess it's late. Friday night. We're doing this. I mean, how excited are you about the Bucs draft? I know it's been a week, but I haven't talked to you about it. How excited are you? Do you like the Trask pick? Do you like the Darden pick? Do you like the Joe Tryon pick? Are you looking forward to having that schedule released on Wednesday night? Excuse me. Does it matter? Does it matter to you? I mean, what about the comments from ESPN? No chance that the Bucs can go undefeated. No chance. It's tough. I wouldn't say there's no chance. I think, a lot of people said there was no chance for this team to win a Super Bowl, right? But on this show, what do we say? Super Bowl or bust, right? I'm going to keep on patting myself on the back. That's okay. If the team has the players going undefeated, depends a lot on coaching. It does. Depends on coaching decisions and getting the breaks that some of the Bucs. Let's face it, right? The games last year, the Bucs got some breaks. I mean, there was a lot of players out. The opposing team had a lot of COVID outs, right? You get those breaks, you get the turnovers. There's a lot of things that have to play into it. But are they the most talented team in the National Football League? By far, in my opinion, yes. Is the NFC tough? I mean, we're talking about the Packers. If Rodgers moves on, you take them out of the equation, right? Who do you have? Saints? Who's the quarterback? Winston? Taysom Hill? Lots of losses there. I'm not sure. Atlanta? I mean, they may score 45 points, but they're going to give it up because their defense does that. That's what their defense has done since the Super Bowl. Carolina Panthers with a young quarterback? I mean, the Rams? Yeah, we talked about the Rams. With Stafford and that defense. San Francisco 49ers, who's your quarterback? Is it Garoppolo? Is it Trey Lance? You would assume it's Garoppolo, but the problem is, can Garoppolo stay healthy? He hasn't been able to, but they have the defense. They're getting back their players. Arizona Cardinals adding a J.J. Watt, Kyler Murray in his third year. You would like to definitely see some type of progression, right? Who else? Seattle? I mean, the situation with Russell Wilson, you're not sure. I mean, there's lots of question marks in the NFC. The thing that you go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, there's not any questions, right? There's not. Let me go out to the phone lines. Welcome to the Evolution. You're on the Sports Web live here on I Love St. Pete on Facebook. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Dave, first-time caller.
Hey, Dave. Thanks a lot for calling, man. What's on your mind tonight?
I was thinking, one thing that people are overlooking maybe for next year a little bit is Brady and Mike Evans really getting on the same page. Brady spreads the ball, but if you look at when he has like a star player like that, like Gronkowski or Randy Moss, he's going to find a way to get to the ball to him more. And I think a lot of it has to do with the way they run routes. Brady's routes are complicated, and he has like options at the end of the route, different options that the wide receiver has to recognize on the run.
Sure.
And I just feel like he and Evans are still a work in progress.
I think they're going to be better. I mean, don't you? I mean, did you see how this team played in November and December and that second half of the year after the bye week? I mean, that's what you have to be really excited about with this Bucs team, because Brady's going to know this offense better, so he's going to be more comfortable. Evans and Godwin, they're going to have the opportunity once again to develop that chemistry. They were developing that chemistry. You have Antonio Brown for a full year. So those players understanding the offense and getting that second year, you have to feel like it's going to be even better because, Dave, let's face it, we saw moments last year where, look, you didn't have a 100-yard wide receiver. You didn't even have Evans, who had one. I think Evans had one catch in that Saints game, but they were still able to win. Why? Because they had enough weapons, and of course they had the running game and the defense. So I think, the sky's the limit for this offense, and they could actually be better. And this is one thing, Dave, that Gronkowski talked about just a couple months ago.
Yeah, right.
He's going to be more comfortable. He's not going to have to learn how to do this and how to learn how to do that. And we know how difficult it is to come into a Bruce Arians offense and learn it right away.
Yeah, and I think people, Brady does spread the ball. That's absolutely correct. But he actually likes to fixate on his big players too. Like Randy Moss had 23 touchdowns in a 16-game season.
Agree.
I mean, it's crazy.
Phenomenal season they had in 2007.
I mean, to me, Evans is like kind of a mix between Gronk and Randy, size-wise.
Yeah. Well, I think he's more Randy Moss. I think, he's not a guy that's a blazer, right? I mean, he's not going to run past you, but he's going to be able to, run fast enough, and his body positioning, he's going to be able to position his body on a cornerback because it's a mismatch nightmare. He's 6'5", he's 6'6". All those guys are pretty big and physical wide receivers. And I think Evans most likely will also have a better year this year. And that's crazy to say because, you look at it at the end of the day, Dave, coming into that season, you heard all the talking heads say Brady was washed up. His arm strength is not great. And still the guy throws for over 40 touchdowns. So am I missing something here? A guy that's 43 years old, doing what he's doing, playing at a high level. You only think he's going to get better. I think there's a lot of people out there that are kind of concerned that he could be on a decline like a Peyton Manning, but I don't see that happening. I don't.
Yeah, and in 2019, he had a cast on his elbow pretty much. Like he would go to games with ice on his arm was messed up, and that healed whatever it was.
Well, I think also, the lack of weapons, right? I mean, that's the reason why he left the Patriots in the first place. A lot of people were saying, well, he only had 24 touchdowns in this, 24-8. Bucs fans are looking at it and saying, they have Winston as a starting quarterback. Yeah, you threw for over 30 touchdowns, but he had 30 interceptions. We'll take the 24-8. That's why I was kind of laughing about it, because the Bucs have weapons, and probably the most weapons that Brady has had in his career. So are you excited about the draft? What are you looking forward to on Wednesday night? Do you care if it's the Buffalo Bills or the Saints opening up with? What are you looking at here, Dave?
I'd kind of like an easier game to open up with than last year. I mean,
Buffalo's pretty tough. I mean, Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs. I mean, they got the weapons there. That's a young, hungry team. They had an opportunity to beat Kansas City. Of course, they couldn't beat them, but this could be the get-over year. And once again, it goes back to quarterback Josh Allen. What he can do in and out of that pocket has been amazing for the Bills.
I mean, I will say that Brady doesn't lose to the Bills that often.
There you go.
Three times out of 20 or 30 games.
There you go. Exactly. I mean, it's all planned. Like a lot of people say out there, the NFL is all planned. You give the Bucs an opportunity to play the Bills, and Brady owns the Bills. So just put one down for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We'll see what happens. What do you think about their draft? And then I'll get you out of here on anything else you want to talk about. I
mean, now that I've learned about the players they took, I think they got some good players.
Right.
I think like everybody, I maybe had my own guys in mind. And I still think they need a backup for Vita Vea, which I guess they'll get in during cut downs. Sure. And I still think they probably need another corner, just because their secondary last year, everybody got banged up.
Sure. It's a valid point. And you also lose Ryan Smith here, Dave. You look at that defensive tackle position. You have Sue, who's getting up there in age. You have a Vita Vea, who hasn't been able to stay healthy consistently, but when he is healthy, he is a man among boys. You have a Steve McClendon. You have a Nacho. I feel like the Bucs are really happy with their depth. They also have a player from Washington who I can't think of him right now. I can't say his name.
Tryon.
They got Tryon, but they also have another kid from Washington who played defensive tackle.
I can't pronounce his name.
Poti, I believe it is. Yeah. They got him. So I think they're pretty good at that defensive tackle situation. I tend to agree with you. I thought you could address that situation with a Christian Barmore, who definitely dropped to the Patriots, We'll see how he plays. I thought you could have gone in that direction, but I really don't think you can hate what the Bucs have done because once again, they've kept everybody intact. They signed everybody, and on top of it, they have one of the top defenses in the NFL. That has gone nowhere. That has not gotten worse. I mean, maybe JPP, was playing at 60 or 70%, and now he'll be held up. I get it, 1 year older, but that guy's a gamer. And then Shaq Barrett with a big-time contract. So, again, for me, on both sides of the ball here, Dave, the sky is the limit. Really quick, I got to ask you about Kyle Trask. Are you a fan of that pick? Yes or no, and why?
I'm okay with the pick.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't hear anything good about him from the media up until the draft. So, it was a surprise, but actually it wasn't a surprise because he was linked to the Bucs. And I think now that he's on the team, he's a guy and he deserves our respect. He's a Buck. And we ought to root for him.
I agree. You definitely got to root for a young quarterback, especially one that's local. And we'll see what Brady can do with the development of him. But I think it's kind of exciting to see, Brady basically try to take this kid under his wing. You can see how excited he is. We'll see if he develops into the future quarterback of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Definitely don't be a stranger here, Dave. Call back. Let me go ahead and fire those cannons for you right there. I'll go ahead and give you a Ric Flair whoa. And thanks a lot for calling the evolution of Sports Talk Television. All right, boss?
All right. Thanks a lot, Pete.
All right. Appreciate it. There you go. First time caller. Love it. Friday night, you could be doing other things. You're here with me talking about football. We're talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We're talking about Aaron Rodgers. We're talking about the schedule being released. We're talking about the NFL Players Association not standing down, it doesn't seem like. Brady telling them not to stand down. I mean, what do you think? What do you think of the impact of that? Does it have any impact? I started off with Virtual Insanity, a song. Is it virtual insanity to go through a second year? Seems like the players are buying into it. 727-255-0391 and 727-255-0391. Want to read these comments, and I'm going to wrap it up because I haven't ate any food. It's good to be back on here again, right? No matter what platform, we're here talking sports here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. You got to love it, whether it's a Friday night, a Saturday night, a Sunday night. Thank you very much, guys, for tuning in. Of course, thanks to the legend himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty, for coming on. And of course, Travis Faley of Rocket Sports and Entertainment. So I agree with you on that. You get notifications by pressing the bell icon, okay? We went through that. So if you guys are not getting the notifications, go ahead and press the bell icon. I don't know what's going on. If the team has players going undefeated, depends a lot on coaching. I think Bruce Arians is a great coach, don't you? I mean, the way he handled the personalities, keeping the coaching staff intact, not having big losses at the offensive coordinator situation, at the defensive coordinator situation. I mean, everybody is coming back. And by the way, the team is still the world champions, the Super Bowl champion, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I tried that. It's not working. Sorry, Peter. What is your Facebook page name? It is, if you go to my personal Facebook, it's Peter H. Blake. And of course, go like and follow I Love St. Pete. Go to their website, stpetekeytag.com. Once again, stpetekeytag.com. Once again, thanks to all the guests that were on the show. The legend himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty. Of course, Travis Faley of Rocket Sports and Entertainment. And of course, your comments, because you webheads, you fans out there, you hardcore football fans, make this show go even on a Friday night. So we're coming into Saturday. We got the schedule release on Wednesday. We'll see if we'll be back on Monday or Wednesday. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to figure a schedule out, but do 3 things for me early on this Saturday morning here, which we're coming into. Enjoy your weekend and write it down. Bring your passion. Bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake. Have a great night.
Stan Arthur here for the I Love St. Pete Facebook group. If you're a business owner looking to connect with tens of thousands of potential new local customers, you owe it to yourself to get enrolled in our Key Tag Rewards program. Since 2019, we've signed up more than 200 local merchants. Sponsor opportunities are available too, such as our group banner ad and even your own custom key tags. Just go to stpetekeytag.com, get enrolled, and get ready to get busy. stpetekeytag.com.